Do, do.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Oh, hi. Hello. Welcome
Oh,
to
hi.
Lorebeards.
Hello.
Welcome to Lorebeards 40K. Uh, my name is Ross Watson. I am one of your hosts. I am a professional writer and game designer who's worked on a whole bunch of stuff for Warhammer 40K roleplay and several Warhammer 40K video games.
Oh, yeah. I'm the co-host. That's me. Hey, everyone. My name is Norn Queen Alexis. I am almost a game designer. Once I get my game published, I'm gonna call myself a game designer. I am just an all-around massive nerd when it comes to the Warhammer 40K hobby, and I do some Viking reenactment, cosplay, and a whole bunch of other things related to Warhammer 40K.
It's true. Also, she's a great commission painter.
You
You
just
should check
painted a
that out.
whole bunch of stuff. Look at
Yeah,
this. Look at
look at
how
these.
fancy it is.
Look at those Necrons. Beautiful.
I'm really happy with them.
Yeah, they look good with that blue color scheme. Yeah.
Yeah,
So go ahead.
I wasn't really sold on the teal until I started painting it.
Ooh, teal.
Like,
Particular
yeah,
shade of blue. I love it.
because like it was like I was following a painting guide for it, and I was just like, okay, how do I make this like this particular teal for this particular dynasty? And they're just like, oh, b- uh, wash it with brown, and I'm just like, what? Really? Okay, trust the process, I guess. And then dry brush it, and I was like, oh, it actually pops. Dang it.
Yeah, that's. I mean, when I learned how to paint Blood Angels, I did it with a very light color of blue before you put the red on, and oh my god,
Mhm.
did it make the red just leap off the model? It was awesome.
Or if you're painting Imperial Fists, you dry brush them pink.
And then you put the yellow on.
Yep.
So Brock 6000 says you can hear us just fine. Thank you, sir. I got to admit, I really appreciate you guys letting us know you can hear us. It's always a really good way to start the stream.
That
So
is true.
thank you very much. We appreciate you guys.
As
So
we're
yeah,
just sitting here and they can't hear us at all. We're just sitting here chatting to each other for 3 hours. No one tells us.
yeah, we're literally just here all the time. The camera's only on a few hours. No, it's not true. It would be funny if it was though.
Yeah.
So yeah, we are here today to talk about a what if.
And a good one at this, because this is one that's near and dear to my heart because it kind of happens every now and then in the lore, but they don't like to say that they're reforming the legions because right after they do it, they tend to just go, then we didn't keep the legions together. We just stayed very close to each other and we act as one army, but we're not a legion.
That's right. So today we're talking about what if the legions reunited, and I'm focusing on the loyalist legions because the chaos legions are, I mean, they mostly never broke up. So
I mean, there are like thousands of different war bands that all hold on to the same name.
that's, I mean, yeah, but if I believe that if Mortarion was like all Death Guard to me, they would,
I
and
mean,
the
he tried that in Plague Wars.
Thousand Sons didn't break up too much. So
They
yeah,
don't really have a choice to whether or not they want to break up. Aren't they mostly automatons at this point?
this is why we're focusing on the loyalists.
Yeah, because there's a lot more what if questions with the Chaos Legions.
Well, it just opens up cans of worms after cans of worms. But yeah, the Loyalist Legions. What if the Loyalist Legions reunited? If we have a little extra time at the end, maybe we'll talk about some of the Chaos ones.
Oh, heck yeah.
So there's that as well. So what do we mean when we say we're talking about the legions reuniting?
So, what is a legion for Warhammer 40K? It is a Space Marine. Well, it is the Space Marine Legions. It's all of the chapters fighting as one coherent army. And this is covering when we talk about legions, we have to mention that the legions Astartes were different than the Codex Astartes, where the Codex Astartes didn't really have the Codex Astartes doesn't really have an air force too much. They have air support, but the legions had full on air support. They had Xiphon interceptors and all sorts of aircraft, but the legions are all of it collectively fighting as one force. So the 10 chapters to 12 chapters that made up the Ultramarines Actually, I think it was more than that, but you know what I mean. The multiple chapters that descended from the Ultramarines, all unified as one fighting force. Legions spanned thousands of Marines. I think the smallest legion had like 8,000 members, and the larger legions had 250,000. Debatable with Ultramarines and the writers, because some novels they have 250 and that's considered a lot, and then other chapters they're like they have so many more, and it's like, okay, don't give us a number, because then it balloons out of crazy. But a legion is a unified force fighting under its primarch. But we're not going to bring back the primarchs for this one. We're just saying that the legion, the progenitor chapter, is reforming its legion for the 9 primarchs.
Well, there might be some of the what if questions could involve primarchs, but
Yes, they could.
A friend or trader has a really good point here. He says Death Guard, Iron Warriors, and Word Bearers are the traitors that mostly remained a coherent legion. That's largely true. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I mean, you could argue Sons of Horus as part of the Black Legion.
I mean, there's only 4 of them left. That's a joke. I'm just making a joke on the number of casualties they took in the Legion Wars.
They did take a lot of casualties. You could argue the Sons of Horus is part of the Black Legion. You could argue Emperor's Children, and but anyway, let's just say there's a Venn diagram. There's a lot of overlap. He's not wrong, and that's one of the reasons why we're not talking about the Chaos Forces today, is because it's a lot of sort of, but not really, sort of, but not really. We'll talk about different aspects of it.
It's gonna be great.
Would you like to read some super chats right off the bat?
Yeah, let's get to it. Let me just make sure I get the right ones. Okay, it's this one.
Biofoot 7874. Great to see you, sir. Get in. We're getting the band back together, he says. Get in, loser. We're going legioning.
This is the exact message that Lion sent out when he came back.
And we're going to talk about that too. Skitari Boy, thank you very much, sir. Who cares about legions reuniting? He says Admech finally got a second named character and she looks so peak.
It took 9 years to get a second character. Now they're not now there's only one army with one named character.
Which army is that?
Imperial Knights. They only have Canis Rex.
Yeah, well,
technically Chaos Knights have 0 named characters, but they're Chaos Knights. I don't care about them.
Well, ouch. Any Chaos Knight players out there, email your comments to Alexis at Ricky Chapman 3377 says diving for an hour, so will not be committing much. I'm assuming this is driving.
Nope, I assume he's underwater.
Poor Ricky Chapman.
He's under there, and then he takes out his phone. It's in like a baggie.
I mean, I suspect that actually works. I don't know for sure. I'm not a diver myself, but
I said it as like kind of dumb comment, but now I'm like, I think that actually does kind of work depending on the depth.
So, there is a second named character. They just released her on Warhammer Community along with some new Skitari, and they look really, really cool. Go check them out. She's part of the Ordo Reductor, which is very, very cool because the Ordo Reductor are super cool. They're the ones that they destroy things in the name of the God Emperor. The Machine God. They destroy things in the name of the Omnissiah. Ooh. And so she's very warlike, and I dig it.
I'm wondering if she is a believer that the Omnissiah is the Emperor or the Omnissiah is different.
Well, she's a loyalist character. At least she's not a Dark Mechanicum character. So it strongly suggests she believes that the Emperor is at least partly the Omnissiah.
Okay, fair enough.
Because most of the guys that don't are Dark Mechanicum. But, listen, I don't know. There's very little lore about her. So I could be completely wrong.
It could be like the Trice Devoured, who only has a paragraph, and he's amazing.
Oh, no. Brock 6000 says that Ricky Chapman has been confirmed as a fishman.
Oh, no. This whole time, cover blown.
And Hawk says that his phone in a baggie will work. So there you go. Okay.
So Hawk has tried it.
I should begin the show by talking about the fact that several legions have either already reunited or never really broke up that much to begin with.
Dark Angels.
So Dark Angels, will start with them. So the Dark Angels have several successor chapters, the Unforgiven, and contrary to what I imagine a lot of the Lords of Terra, prefer, the Dark Angels kept very close contact with all the Unforgiven. They share information. They coordinate efforts. The Dark Angels as a legion kind of never really they paid lip service to the Codex as far as like, oh yes, we will separate in 2,000-man groups, but they are still very much a largely cohesive force. They all largely believe in the same things and largely want to do the same things.
I can't remember which codex it was, but I remember a passage that stated all of the not chapter masters. What are they called for Dark Angels? But the chapter master equivalent. They all come together and then they pay homage to Azrael as being their commander.
Yeah.
So it's like,
he's the supreme commander of the Dark Angels, is Azrael. Well, now the Lion is back, and we don't have a lot of lore on whether he's going to change how Azrael's doing things. It's largely, I think we have to assume he's going to, because Azrael is still, obviously pursuing the Fallen, and the Dark Angels still pursuing the Fallen as a thing, whereas L. Johnson is like, no, we'll bring them back into the fold. So there's going to be some sort of conflict that would need to be resolved there. But anyway, so largely speaking, the Dark Angels never really broke up. They did on paper.
They wrote it down that they broke up into this many chapters.
Trust me, bro.
It's just, sometimes we operate in the same war zone. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, trust me, bro. We totally broke up into 1,000-man chapters. It was their whole deal. Dowie Forever says, well, he's changing the idea of what the Pursuit Fallen is.
That is very true.
I mean. Yeah, agreed. So other than Dark Angels, the Blood Angels have had their come back to Baal moment during the devastation of Baal, which was a big deal and really cool book, by the way. I really enjoyed the novel.
It was a solid book.
So they now have a formation called the Sanguinary Brotherhood. So that's another legion that is essentially reconstituted. Like they all have sworn to follow Dante. So there's that.
And I think even Gilliman knows about this.
Yeah, he was. Well, they rode to the rescue of Baal at the very last minute.
Yeah,
the Dominus Crusade,
and like he knew about how they operated and was just like, "Nah, Dante, you got this." And Dante's like, "Please let me die." And he's like, "Best I could do is a promotion."
That's true, absolutely true. So speaking of the Ultramarines, they're another legion that has essentially reformed. Gilliman was very. He called the successor chapters back to Ultramar to help rebuild after the Plague Wars, and they're currently working very closely with a lot of their successor chapters, like the Mentor Legion and things like that. They are not all Ultramarines all under Gilliman, but they are very, very close to that. So I'm going to award the Ultramarines with, technically not a legion, but basically a legion.
I mean, if you count those gray shields that he was flying around with, like the few 100,000 he had with him. Actually, I think it was only like 100,000.
The last chapter that never really broke up was the Space Wolves, who
for the longest time they didn't actually have a chapter to make successors. They just kept dying.
Well, they have had mixed success with successors is one way to put it. But they are currently, as a chapter, they have always been way over strength. They've always had like somewhere between 10 and 13,000 Space Marines. So they never really, they only barely paid attention to the Codex Astartes to begin with. And anyway, so go ahead.
As a Space Wolf fan, I can say this about the Codex Astartes. Books make terrible weapons.
But pretty decent armor. Like I have several books that can stop a bullet. I'm just saying.
Oh, that's fair.
Heavy, very heavy. Anyway, so we were gonna let's go through the list in Legion order, if you would be okay with that.
Alrighty, I'm down with that. We get to start with the first and the best, the Dark Angels.
You're damn right. The first and the best. I
I
like
love that that's both of our favorite Legion.
Again, I want to be really clear. They're my favorite Legion in the Horus Heresy. Post Heresy, they're still cool, but they're not quite as cool as they used to be.
I love them both. I love them as being written as closeted homosexuals in the Heresy, and then open in the 40K.
Not
That's
not
a joke,
exactly. Not exactly, no.
but I love them in both settings.
So where are the Dark Angels currently at in the most recent stuff for Warhammer 40K? Azrael is formally the leader. Supreme Grandmaster is his title.
Yep.
But Lionel Johnson has returned from millennia of absence. So there's going to be some interesting things going on there. But currently the Lion is kind of running around with his own retinue of elite Dark Angels and Unforgiven and the what are they calling the fallen that is the Redeemed?
The Redeemed.
Yeah.
And the Redeemed don't necessarily have to be fallen, but they are definitely the fallen. Like they are 100% the fallen. But they are the fallen that fell in line when Lion came back.
Right.
Which is huge because there could be actually there could be over 100,000 fallen. And even if he gets back 10% of that.
The latest number we have is somewhere over 30,000 fallen.
Okay.
So
Let's say he gets 10% of that back. 3,000 Marines.
Yeah, would be nice.
And we do know that the Risen, the
Redeemed?
I thought they were the Risen. No, they're the Redeemed. I forget which one they are, but the fallen guys that follow alongside them, they do fight alongside the other captains and everything. They are bodyguards for them. They just are very untrusted.
Which is one of the reasons why they hang out mostly with the Lion.
Yes.
So their deal is they are their defining burden remains
the Risen. Thank you.
Is it the Risen, not the Redeemed?
Yes.
Okay, I was wrong. There you go.
We were both wrong because there's so many Risen, Rise, Revivified, or things in 40K.
And Biofoot 7874 says Lionel Johnson, father finally returned with milk. That's very good. Great one, Biofoot. Goddamn.
Yes, Biofoot.
The current status of the Dark Angels, they're still a very strong chapter. They're Unforgiven. They coordinate covertly across the galaxy to still focus on the fall of Caliban and the scattered fallen angels. The inner circle still is directing a lot of their vast resources to tracking, capturing, and redeeming them to erase the shame of their legion. But current discussions in the lore seem to focus on how Lion's return might shift this focus, whether he reins in the obsession or harnesses it more openly. There's no statements that the hunt for the fallen has stopped. So I think we can both say that the fallen are still an antagonist, but also a potential thing you could fold into your legion.
Now, one of the things that the Dark Angels are currently doing is pursuing Vashtor. Because he did just attack the Rock, and he did steal a very, very, very important character who escaped when Vashtor and Be'lakor attacked the Rock. I don't know how Be'lakor attacked the Rock. He just showed up with a steel chair.
Which character did they kidnap?
Well, we don't know if they kidnapped him. That's the big thing. We know that he escaped during this time, or he was taken with them, or he left on his own accord. But Luther is gone, and apparently he's seeking out the Fallen as well. So we could actually see the Fallen versus the Risen, which would be a cool little clash.
Yeah, I agree. That would be super fun. And it would actually be a great inciting incident to get all of the Unforgiven together under the Lion's banner once again. So that's a what if that I'm willing to entertain, is that Luther goes off, starts building a group of Fallen to, I don't know, maybe Luther's still pissed and maybe he wants to fuck up the Imperium some more. And he's like, all right, let's go.
Yeah. We also know that Lion is currently hanging out with the Blood Ravens
Right,
in the
because
most
of Dawn of War
recent
4.
video game.
Dawn of War 4, that's right.
Now, I still have my huge theory that the Blood Ravens are actually Dark Angel successors. That's always been my theory about them. Because the secrecy is just right there. The Raven iconography is very similar to the Raven wing. And I love the fact that they somehow keep managing to find things that they're not supposed to and are really good at fighting chaos.
My headcanon is that they're actually made from loyalist Thousand Sun gene seed.
I think you're absolutely correct, and that's what they were meant to be. And then GW backpedaled on it. But my whole theory is Lion is just like, hey, are you guys my sons? And they're just like, I don't know. Do you want to do a blood test?
A
What
blood
the hell's a
Raven
blood
test.
test?
So Lionel Johnson being back lends a lot of strength to the idea that there could be a Dark Angel civil war, as Micah points out. But it also could be just a really great reason to basically get the band back together and bring everybody back into the fold for the Dark Angels. But I mean, so they already kind of are, like I said, they're basically a legion in that they have the Unforgiven, and all the Unforgiven already take strategic direction from the Dark Angel Supreme Commander Grandmaster, which is Azrael, who takes his direction from the Lion.
The one thing that I really like is Lion is currently on the other side of the Cicatrix Maledictum, which means that he is not next to Gilliman. Although he, at the end of the most recent, the 500 Worlds, Lion is apparently heading towards Macragge, looking for Gilliman. We don't know how he crossed or where he crossed, but he was in where the Dark Angels are, which is on the other side of the Cicatrix Maledictum. He made it across. That's all we know. But it could be that once he gets back, he starts his pursuit to conquer all of that as his own separate kingdom.
He could. Here's my theory for how the Dark Angels could reunite. Is that the Lion goes to the Rock, has it out with Azrael, and they both emerge into the inner circle where all of the inner circle guys are waiting. All the captains of the Unforgiven have come to hear the words of their Primarch. And he says, this is it. This is the final hunt for the fallen, because we know where Luther is and we know where he's gathering his forces. And that is where we will take all of our Dark Angels to settle this once and for all.
Ooh, I do like that. I like that.
Doesn't that send a shiver down your spine? Like,
yeah.
oh, the final hunt for the fallen. Damn.
Especially if it's if Luther is working with Vashtor, which is my working theory right now. I would really like to see again Be'lakor just come out of absolutely nowhere with a steel chair. Just it's Be'lakor with a steel chair.
It's really the only way he gets relevant at all, is to show up as the weird guest star for this book, is special guest star Be'lakor.
Yep, it's kind of like what's his name with the Blood Angels?
The Sanguinor?
No, the demon.
Kabanda.
Yeah, when Kabanda just shows up. Just like, I'm here to save the day. Wait, aren't you the enemy? Yes.
Is there anything else you'd want to say about a final hunt for the fallen, or ways that the Dark Angels could reunite?
I honestly think that not Gilliman, but I think the Lion is all in favor of the full Primaris. He would want limitations removed or limitations extended. He might actually take a couple of his chapters of Dark Angels and just say they're on crusade so that they can exceed the number of Codex Marines and just use them to get the fallen. I could see many different ways that Lion would take advantage of this. I could also see ways that Azrael takes advantage of this and just goes, no, we're a legion now because the galaxy needs it.
Yeah, I mean, the final hit for the fallen is a pretty great deal. Like I would definitely be on board for that. I would like to see him. I would like to see. here's my like absolute Dark Angel fanboy side that's going to come out right now. So everybody, this is no longer 40K lore scholar Ross. This is Dark Angel fanboy Ross. So there's a big difference. Dark Angel fanboy Ross wants the Lion to like formally say we are reestablishing the Iron Wing and the Dread Wing. We're going to have a full hexagrammaton. If anybody knows what that is, it's the Dark Angels separations into their different wings, of which currently there's only the Death Wing and the Raven Wing, but there were 6 in the Heresy era. There was
Iron
the
Wing, Death Wing, Fire Wing,
Dread Wing,
Dread Wing, Raven Wing. What's the last one?
Storm Wing.
Storm Wing, yeah, the bolter ones.
Yeah, just tons of dudes with bolters.
Yep.
Would you like 100,000 Space Marines with bolters? The Storm Wing has got you covered. They were like the Russians in World War II. They were just like, send more men at it. Stormwing was pretty cool, but for me, I love the Dreadwing and the Firewing a great deal. They're just cool as hell.
The Dreadwing Interruptors.
Mm-hmm.
Those plasma burners. Oh, gods, their wing was so crazy cool. And imagine it in 40K. Because I could see Lion just going, the plasma incinerator. What if we make the plasma heavy incinerator and makes it a heavy flamethrower?
Drazina questions. Go ahead.
No, that was it.
Drazina question says the wings already exist. Look at the successor chapter symbols. I will, but in my fanboy side, I want him to like formally like announce it so that you can then play a 30K version of Dark Angels in 40K. I would love to see that.
Also, the Iron Wing just having a ton of dreadnoughts would be amazing.
Ricardo Andre says those are definitely different chapters. Trust me, they are not the Legion Wings split. Trust me, bro. I mean, so
all he has to do is get that one Inquisitor on his side from the Iron Wing, the comic books, and just be like, oh yeah, she totally agrees with me. This is fine.
Nestor Vitumber says, and now an apology for an organization that uses abominable intelligences, the Iron Wing. Well, the Exindios you didn't have to be Iron Wing to field it. But it didn't hurt. It was like helpful to be an Iron Wing.
Yeah, because they understood more of the mechanics.
But anyway, so that's the Dark Angels. Anything else you'd like to say before we move on to the White Scars?
I mean, we could just talk about Dark Angels. So the soul Dark Angels. Let's just fawn over Dark.
Well, I put Marduk Cedrus on the list, and the Rock, and just like there's a bunch of Dark Angel stuff that I would love to get into. So
I still want to know what is bigger, the Rock or the Phalanx.
That's a great question. On any given Sunday, I would assume it's the Rock,
right? But also the Phalanx.
The Phalanx is really goddamn big, so I don't know. We're going to talk about the Phalanx when we get to the Imperial Fists.
Somebody's asking for the Traitor Legions. We're probably going to mention them towards the end.
Yeah, if we have time. But there's a lot of reasons why it's kind of awkward to talk about reuniting the Chaos Legions. A lot of questions you have to answer. Anyway, so where were we? White Scars. Dun, dun, dun. So the White
Scars. Okay, let's be real. The White Scars could just reestablish the Legion and no one would notice.
Oh, I hate that you're right.
When that is the main focus of what they did in the Heresy, I'm correct. Even Malkador is just like, yeah, no one likes you guys. No one knows about you guys.
The White Scars are definitely underappreciated, underloved. They don't get hardly anything in the lore, which is a bummer. And yeah, I think you're right. Out of all the Loyalist chapters we're going to talk about today, they may be the least likely to ever have some kind of reunification.
If Chagatai Khan comes back riding a, half Eldar jet bike motorcycle with his 2 side chicks on it,
that would be, so that is one of the ways. I want to briefly just talk about where they're at right now.
I hope you can, because I have no idea. I know that they're just getting their shit rocked by the Red Corsairs.
Well, I was going to mention that. That's one of the biggest things in recent memory is that their homeworld was attacked by the Red Corsairs, which could be another reason for them to reunite now that they know that their homeworld is vulnerable.
Fair.
Jubal Khan was the chapter master at the time. He is no longer chapter master. He was succeeded by Crisaro Khan, who is now Primaris as well.
And he's got a jet bike. You know, Samael, the only guy on a jet bike.
Oh no.
Looking real sad over there.
They also
Eschers pass him.
They did get their Primaris reinforcements, and they are still a very strong and active chapter. They are kind of in a they're basically right now they're purging the Chigora system of any remaining chaos issues. And they're broadly still like the Imperium's premier rapid reaction force. And we know that their Primarch is still missing. That's kind of where they are right now.
We kind of have an idea of where his Primarch is, though, and it's in the Dark City.
Well, he was last seen going into the webway. It's strongly assumed that he's somewhere in Cormorag.
Yeah, because I think GW wrote a story some time ago where they had this great hero, and it's assumed that is Jagatai.
So, what are some ways that the White Scars could reunite as a chapter?
Okay, so
or a legion. Sorry, reunite as a legion.
First, without their chapter, without the Primarch.
Yeah, we'll leave the Primarch to last.
Okay, so without their Primarch, we know that Jagatai Khan currently has the head of Doom Rider. I just like mentioning this because it's really cool that Doom Rider's still canon. He's just canonically dead. There's Kovu.
Hi, Kovu.
So my biggest thing would be like if the Tau were to attack in force, or if the Red Corsairs were to attack in force, they would recall all of their members and they would have a massive fight against them. Unfortunately, the White Scars just consistently lose all of their battles in 40k. They lost against the Tau. They lost against technically Imperial Victory, but they lost. That's which campaign was that? That's not the Gulf.
Was it not the Damocles Gulf?
It was the Damocles Gulf. Okay. My brain said yes, and then it was like no. And I'm like, oh crap, thanks, brain. But like if they want to get revenge on the Tau, I could see them reunifying and making a temporary legion to fight against them to actually destroy that expansion. Or if they notice a slight sign of weakness in the Red Corsairs, like the Red Corsairs go out somewhere else to attack something, the White Scars might unify and attack them and try to take the Maelstrom from them. Although the popularity of the Red Corsairs is way higher than the popularity of White Scars, so we have to factor that in, unfortunately.
Ricardo Andre says, the biggest problem with the Loyalist Legions is cohesion. Unless you are a Dante or a Primarch or perhaps Azrael, no first founding chapter master has the pull to bind the Legion together. Okay, I mean...
Marinus Calgar.
Calgar probably did. Here's the thing. We're here to talk about like what if they did and how that would happen. So the fact, I mean, there are ways to do it that involve not just a Primarch returning, but you do make an interesting point that cohesion is required. I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, and a lot of the Khans boys are very fiercely independent. That's one of the other big things about, like, even the White Scars themselves, their captains are fiercely independent. So they don't like working with other captains within their own ranks.
Yeah, he says he meant long term is what he meant.
Yeah,
that's what yeah.
I can't see the White Scars remaining a legion for very long. Even in the Horus Heresy, like after the actual heresy itself, I don't think the Codex Astartes was needed to break them up. I think they would have broken up normally.
So there's a couple of ways to go about this that I thought of that we could talk about. obviously the first and most obvious one is the Jagatai Khan returns.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I think let's leave that to last because it is frankly, it's the easiest way to go.
It is the easiest.
So what are some non-easy ways to reunite the chapter? Well, one thing I thought of is that you could have, not unlike the devastation of Baal and not unlike the attack on Ultramar, the Plague Wars, you could have Jagatai, not Jagatai Khan, sorry, Corsaro Khan. Corsaro Khan could look around at what happened on Chigoris and say, you know what we need is we need a grand conclave of Khans. And he just reaches out to all the successor chapters, the Stormlords, the Mantis Warriors, the Marauders, all of their guys, and says, you know, come back to Chigoris. Let's hash this out because our home world was attacked. You know, you could draw a lot of parallels to 9/11 if you want to.
Damn.
I mean, it's got a lot of parallels there, but you can see how that could become like we have to reevaluate how to protect our home world and our people and our legacy and our history as a chapter, as a legion.
Someone clip that.
I don't think I'm out of line. I mean,
No,
tell me,
you're not.
you tell me.
You
tell
are
me.
correct.
So the great Con is what Nestor Vitumbra says. Yes. So you could have a thing where all the Khans swear allegiance to a great Khan or a Kagan, perhaps. You could even have the Imperium recognize the term Great Khan as the one in charge, kind of like Azrael's Supreme Grand Master title, which, holy shit, that's pretentious. But, you know, I mean,
it's not pretentious. It's necessary.
That's the same thing you could say about a Great Khan title. Also, Great Khan is a really good name that hasn't been used for the White Scars. So I think that would be a lot of fun.
They should call them the Attila.
So a second way to do this is the White Scars build their identity around the idea of a hunt, a capital H hunt, a pursuit, an encirclement, a killing of hated foes. You could argue that the Red Corsairs would be a great focus for this ire, but also the Dark Eldar could be a good focus for this ire. You could basically just pick an enemy and say, okay, so Corsaro Khan calls a grand hunt. I know the Space Wolves have the Great Hunt. We're going to call it something slightly different to just legally distinct. A grand hunt for all of the different successor chapters to come together and band, and we're going to say we're going to go do this thing at this time. Maybe we're all going to go and do a coordinated assault on Cormorag.
I was just about to suggest that to try to get their Primarch.
Wouldn't that be wild? I would love to read a story where the White Scars,
you know what?
All the White Scars chapters, all of them, descend on Cormorag because they got a message saying that Jagatai's there, and it's on. It's Vect versus Corsaro Khan, and it would be wild.
Hear me out. It's a solitaire that comes to the Great Khan to tell him.
Yes, of course, the Harlequins. Why not?
Because the Harlequins would do that.
Now that is the story I would read.
Because like the White Scars would absolutely hate the fact that Azenos is telling him this, but they could never pass up the opportunity of getting their Primarch back. And finding out that he's alive is a great way to unify a chapter unify a legion.
It would also be a great way to lead into bringing him back, frankly. Because a war at Cormorag would, I mean, that's like a box set for a new edition, right? Like is this White Scars v Dark Angels. Or Dark Eldar specifically.
Yep.
Drukhari.
Maybe they'll finally answer what happened to the Kane's Gate. Maybe a White Scar missile hits it and it opens.
Yeah, maybe. Nestor Vitumbra says the Scar's characteristic independence makes feudal type unification impossible without the Primarch, whose authority over other Khans is indisputable. Again, you're shutting us down before we even get a chance to explain our thoughts. So maybe listen. I mean, you're not wrong. He's got a great point. They are very independent, and it would take something big. I'm positing that the Primarch's return isn't the only the only way. Like there might be some other options, and we're going to explore those.
I think going along with his idea or their idea, because I don't know their gender, but going along with their idea, it could be that the independence of each of the chapters makes them want to discover the con first. So they could be competing within each
Yeah.
other, forced as a legion, but without a unified leader. They just have a unified goal. Similar to how when the Night Lords all came together, because we could talk about this as well. When the Night Lords came together to kill the assassin that killed their Primarch, they all unified. They had a single purpose to hunt down and kill that assassin. They did, and then they dispersed afterwards. But they didn't have a de facto leader. So you can unify without a leader behind it. So I can see them being fiercely independent, fiercely competitive with each other, but hunting together because they need to.
Yeah, there is some feudal relations to some of the big hunts that you'd go on in the French and British aristocracies, and a lot of those were competitions that allowed lesser nobles to attain glory through deeds. So you could look at it, as release the hounds, let the White Scars run free, with the goal of finding Jagatai Khan and returning him. But it's really all the individual chapters are like, now we're going to show who's the best.
Oh,
And that is something I could see happening.
There's a comment here that I really like.
Zero Daimu asks, is it Cormorog functionally infinitely big because of the whole different dimension stuff? You could have a whole edition Warfront whatever all set in it for numerous factions. Yes, it has functionally infinitely big is maybe it's very, very big. I think we can all agree on that. Infinitely big. I won't sign on entirely for that, but it is very, very big with plenty of room. You're right, for a Warfront.
It would make for a really, really good setting book. Like a campaign book where you have demons, Gene Stealer cult, because there is a Gene Stealer cult in Kamara. Just there is.
Well, they did it intentionally so they could fight it in the arena.
Yes. There is a demon uprising that's constantly happening that they have to constantly deal with because demons are now just slipping in. And that's because of the birth, the awakening of Iniad. Oopsie daisy, I accidentally blew holes in our super secret dimension. So yeah, and Imperials have invaded there before. It wouldn't be the first time.
So for guys like Nestor Vitumbra and Ricardo Andre who are talking about the independence, I'm saying that Kursaro Khan, could name himself a Kagan or a Great Khan, which is essentially, for the White Scars, a first among equals situation rather than a supreme commander situation. Azrael is the supreme grandmaster, and there is none above him. Like his authority is supreme. Whereas Kursaro Khan would be like, I am the Great Khan. That means I am first among equals, but does not mean that I am supreme over all of you. It just means we're all, you will listen to what I have to say first before we do the thing. So that's kind of where I was going with the one idea. You could also have the Ultima Founding and the Dominus Crusade play a much bigger role here, because again, there's not a whole lot of lore about the White Scars and this new era. But you could say that giving so many reinforcements all at once could allow you to build a kind of a formation of new and existing chapters together as something like the Brotherhood of the Rift. They're all trained on Shagoras. They're all under White Scar's rule, but they wear different colors, kind of like how Ultramar and its the Ultramarine successors are doing things right now.
I got something to add to that. When you said Brotherhood of the Rift, I thought of them as a rock band, and then you talked about them wearing different outfits, and I'm just like, so it's Kiss. Got it.
Well, I was thinking you have this. You could have with a Brotherhood of the Rift kind of formation, you could have an excuse for multiple mixed chapters of White Scar successors all in one group.
Okay, I like that.
And the Brotherhood, they answer directly to the Great Khan, whereas the individual chapters still run their own things, but they donate to the Brotherhood, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Similar to the what are they called? The little strike forces of the Ultramarines. The ones that were designed to kill like Tyranid groups.
uh
Not the Tyrannic War veterans, but they were like multiple factions that worked together, like Sisters, Guard, and Marines would just attack like a Tyranid vessel and then leave, just leaving it in ruins and getting away. And they were like small strike forces. I can't remember what it's called right now.
so I was just gonna say that
Soul Blades. Thank you.
the what soul blades.
Yeah. Thank you, chat.
Like this, like the soul system, soul blades.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so the reason I was going with this is because the idea of a khanate, if you will, is similar to how the Mongols did things, and the Mongols are the biggest cultural influence for the White Scars in general. So if you have this shared culture, you could draw on it to either defend Chigoris, which we talked about, to form a group that represents all White Scars of all chapters, which is the Brotherhood of the Rift, or some kind of grand hunt against a particular foe. Those are my three big ideas. What are yours, Alexis?
Mine is hunting down their dad. Because yeah, hunting that, like, it just comes down to like, here's big enemy. We need to unify to attack big enemy, unfortunately. And the White Scars, it does make sense. It's a great hunt for them. So I can definitely see like, hey, we're gonna go kill Horan Blackheart. Let's get the boys together and go for a run. Hey, we found Dad. He's at the store with his new mom. Let's go and get him. Or it's, hey, the tower making another sphere expansion. Let's go give them some Imperial justice.
Yeah, I've never felt that much enmity between the White Scars and the Tau, but you may have a point. That is just something I have overlooked. So
I mean, they did kill one of their chapter masters.
And that was the Red Corsairs killed Jubal Khan. Well, they didn't even kill Jubal Khan. They just made it to where he had to retire.
No, it was the Raven Guard who got the chapter master killed.
Yes.
They got their captains killed in fainted retreats. And then they got an entire company killed by Tau. And it was like humiliating to them because the Tau were just like, well, that was easy, and just walked away. And yeah, they were just like, it turns out when you can easily move a group of Space Marines into a kill box, you could kill them really easily.
Well, I think the attack on Chigoris by the Red Corsairs gives you a great start. That's a wonderful moment to bring everybody home, at least just to talk. And then you could, after that, once they're all in a place, then you could have the messenger show up from, this Shadow Seer, like, I've been waiting for this moment to tell you about Jagatai Khan, where he is. That would be wild. I'd be down for that. But one of the things I really loved about Devastation of Baal, for example, as a book, was it talked about how the different successor chapters were so excited to be seeing the original homeworld and what it meant to them. And I would kind of like to see how that plays out for the White Scars too, because the Mantis Warriors would have a much different view on it than the Marauders or the Storm
The
Lords.
Mantis Warriors might actually just be kind of chill.
They seem like they would be, especially after the Battle and their Penitent Crusade. I imagine they'd be like, oh, thank God. But nevertheless, it would be interesting to see how this works out.
It would be funny if they're just like, hey, we're reforming the Legion. That goes against the Codex, and last time we did that, we got in trouble.
Right, the Mantis Warriors would be. See, that's a conversation I think would be cool to have. Right, and the Mantis Warriors guys like, yeah, we've been here before. Are you sure?
Hey, should we ask Gilliman first?
Right, yeah.
Maybe send a message to the High Lords.
I would find that very interesting, honestly.
No, we need to attack right now. Yeah, last person that said that just attacked our homeworld. So, maybe we don't do that.
Brock 6000, the Mantis Warriors. Are we cool now? Is everybody cool? Yeah, good point, Brock 6000. And here we got one from Ricardo Andre. Reminder, Ross, the Tau's most recent expansion into the Imperium more than doubled their previous territory. I mean, I'm not discounting the Tau. I never felt like, the rivalry there's enmity between the Space Wolves and the Thousand Suns. You know that it's been going on forever. There's enmity between the Iron Hands and the Emperor's Children. That's been going on forever. I've just never felt like the White Scars, and this may be a fact because the White Scars just aren't covered enough. They're so underserved that they don't really. It never felt to me like they had a big enemy
I
out
think
there.
they really tried to make the two enemies of the Tau, the Raven Guard and the White Scars, and then it just did not feel that way. It felt more the Damocles Golf event felt more like the Tau were winning the whole thing until the Imperials burned everything. And then the Tau were just like, all right, we'll cut our losses and come back.
Zero Diamond says, honestly, the real thing for getting a White Scars update is Marines need new bikes in Primaris scale, which look less silly than the current chunky ones.
But I know that this is a big controversial opinion. Dark Angel bikers are just better. Like we need a new kit for the Dark Knights, without a doubt. I want Primaris Dark Knights.
Jake Wu says White Scars had a rivalry with the Death Guard back in 30K. It's kinda like the Death Guard also were in a rivalry with the Salamanders in 30K. So kinda, sorta. And this is a comment from Ricardo Andre. It's a curl tie. Ah, yes, thank you. It's where all the cons meet to elect a great con. A curl tie is what it's called. Like the Mongol cons of Genghis line met up at I don't want to pronounce that. Karakorum. I'm going to try to elect a new great Khan of the Mongols after the death of one. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, is that you'd have some sort of event like that. Although, it would actually be here. Okay, here's a really wild thought.
I do love these.
So Ricardo Andre brought up the fact that the original Genghis Khan's death is what drew the Mongols back from their massive invasion of Europe, and that is a major historical event, a major beat that you could echo with them finding Jagatai Khan only for him to then die and have a and maybe he dies in like a really cool way. Maybe he's just really old and nearly, just keels over. Who knows? But you could have a moment where they get to reunite and have that we have reunited with our Primarch bit, only for him to pull an Optimus Prime and then just like, light our darkest hour and croak. So who knows? That's an interesting thought, is to use that death of Genghis Khan as a way to bring everybody home. That would be kind of cool.
Also, I was thinking about something. I like the idea of the White Scars having a jet bike unit, and I like the idea of Dark Angels having a Deathwing Dark Knight Primaris variant. I am in favor of both.
I would like to see Primaris bikers for various reasons. So yes, I'm down.
There's Primaris bikers, but they
more
look okay. More Primaris bikers, yeah.
All right, so that's do you have anything else you'd like to add about the White Scars?
I mean, I wish, but they're just not very interesting, unfortunately. They're very cool. But like GW just kind of forgot about them for the longest time. Like even in the Heresy, they were completely forgotten about.
Yeah, well, not entirely during the Heresy. They had some good moments, but they are certainly underserved. I think we can agree on that. We can all agree on that. They're underserved. For a while, I thought that they were also the when I first started playing 40K, I thought that the White Scars and Chigoris was the same world that they got the Atalan Rough Riders from, because the Atalan Rough Riders were very Mongols, and I was like,
yeah,
you have Mongols riding horses over here, and you have Mongols riding, say, space bikes over here. How are these not from the same place? But they're not.
Really should. They really should be, though.
Well, I got to be honest. If I was going to write a big event for the White Scars, part of it would be them going to Atalan.
Yeah,
part of it would just be some sort of like, hey, we have some mini-me's over here. Let's go say hi.
Or like even some of the Death Riders. Like I would take any horseback like hunter. Because it would work really well with them.
it would be kind of wild if they got a chance to train some Astra Militarum garrison, cavalry units.
Hmm.
Just saying. Okay, we
We
got
do have a super chat.
the Danish Viking. Oh, welcome to the stream, sir. Appreciate you supporting us.
Danish.
What about the chapters with chimeric gene seed? How do they fit in with the legions? We're actually going to discuss that a little bit when we get to the Raven Guard, because one of their successors, the Carcharodons, is chimeric. But essentially, good.
Also, the reason I made the Danish joke is because I'm in Iceland and we're kind of obligated to do so.
Or so I'm told. I don't know. I'm not an Icelandic person. But thank you for pointing this out, because there are successors with chimeric gene seed. It's going to depend a little bit. My favorite phrase on this show is "it depends." It depends on which chapter it is and how dire straits they are. Like at the devastation of Baal, I'm pretty sure Dante would be like, you know what, you're at least part Blood Angel. Come on over. So
they're just standing there checking the blood types. No, you can't. You can't. No, it says Dark Angels and Ultramarines. Like, I get it. You want to be the best of the best, but go away.
Largely speaking, chimeric gene seed is not really that big a deal, and frankly, most even Space Marine chapter masters aren't super aware that other chapters are have that. It's a very rarely known thing in the first place. So if you showed up to a White Scars reunion with your White Scars successor chapter that has some Thousand Sun DNA in you, it'd probably be okay. I mean, it's not like they have a "you must be this pure to ride" chart or anything like that. But it's a good question.
Test came back 40%. Nah, go away. We do have one more super chat though.
Scutari Boy, thank you. Oh, and I did see this one and I forgot to point it out, so glad you grabbed it. Scutari Boy says, "Damn, can't believe Vec just killed all the scars." Do you think?
Yeah.
How? Okay, so quick question before we move on to the next chapter. Who do you think the White Scars, as a combined force with all their successor chapters, could successfully pull off a raid on Cormorag?
With all the successor chapters? One Imperial fleet started bombarding Chimera. So yeah, I think that would be fine. Like, they would definitely take some ground there and start a prolonged campaign. But Space Marines do suffer from prolonged campaigns, so it depends how quickly they can get reinforcements. Like, if they brought like an entire couple of guard regiments with them as well, then yes, I think they could successfully siege Kamara for a couple of years before retreating. Or they could successfully seize Kamara until Vect actually has to get involved.
Well, to be clear, I don't imagine the White Scars conquering Cormorag. I imagine them going in, getting what they want, and getting out. Is what I can imagine. However, and here's a twist. Here's a fun 40k twist that is entirely in character for both Vect and the White Scars. What if it's a trap that Vect laid?
Hear me out. What if the Khan knows this because Doom Rider told him? Okay.
So now we're involving Doom Rider. I like it.
Now we have fourth dimensional chess happening, and they get into a giant race in a coliseum, and the loser dies.
But I know that he knows that I know it's a trap. Did you know that?
No, but I could see them both planning a trap for each other in this exact scenario, and then each one of them falling into it and purposely going, "Aha, that was my plan."
Yeah, I mean, in my headcanon it goes like this: the Shadow Seer is sincere, but as a Harlequin also has ulterior motives. Okay,
obviously.
And part of those ulterior motives, as part of the ulterior motives, she leaks the information to Vect that this is going to happen. And Vect is like, okay, I can't stop them from getting their con back, but I can acquire several really good slaves for the pits. So he sets a trap that gets a what maybe an entire successor chapter. I don't know. He gets a lot of White Scars and captures them and drags. So the White Scars get out of Chagora get back to Chagoras with their Primarch, but they leave behind lots of their brothers. That's that in my head. That's how that works out.
I like it. I like it a lot.
That's I don't know. We're wildly speculating, but that's what a what if is all about, guys. It's wild speculation.
Hear me out though. All right, because I really like Doom Rider as a character, and I love Slaanesh as a antagonist. Okay,
Woo! Doom Rider. So many Doom Rider mentions today.
so this is my whole thing. The capture of one of the masters of the hunt at this point has Doom Rider's head with them so that they can tell them where the gate is, and they try to summon in demons by breaking said gate, thus attacking them, which allows the White Scars to escape.
I like it. Nestor Vitumbra points out that Vect could set the trap and also give front row seats to all his political rivals, which would be a very Vect thing to do for sure.
Yeah, it is. Vect could also die in the whole thing and then come back, because
Which
that's
is
also a Vect thing to do.
Very Vect thing to do, yeah. The Drukhari and their ways of returning from the dead. It's pretty crazy.
Or could you imagine if they made a homunculus version of the Khan that was so accurate to the Khan because they cloned him, and that's what they took back?
Well, you'd have to involve Fabius Bile, I think, somewhere in there, but that would be pretty fun.
The Dark Eldar and Fabius Bile get along very well.
I mean, they don't not get along.
Like, they both showed each other new methods of torture.
Right.
That's how you know they're besties.
Ricardo Andre says, I just want to point out it's always Segarath. I think he's talking about the Laughing God, preparing the next thing to be released to save the Imperium. You know, it is. It's surprisingly, it is. It usually does involve the Harlequins. So there you go. All right. So
there's one more thing. Didn't
Zero Daimu asks, didn't Bile learn from the homunculi?
Yes, he did. In one of the books, he learns from a homunculus, and it's messed up.
All right, so we need to talk about the Space Wolves next. The current state of the Space Wolves, they got really badly battered during the Black Crusade and the fall of Cadia, but the 13th Great Company has returned. They have new successor chapters like the Wolf Spear, and they got new reinforcements. So while they are kind of on the back foot, they are still intact. They still have a home world. They're still resistant to codex standardization. And they still deviate basically as far as you possibly can from your typical Space Marine organization.
Brother Ulver turned into a wolf. Damn, his name gave that away.
So what's interesting here, we almost forgot. Actually, shit. Before we leave the White Scars, Jagatai Khan could return, and that would be how you get everybody back together.
Oh yeah, we kind of just skipped that.
I found the how you get Jagatai back from Cormorant far more interesting. That's why I didn't really talk about it too much. But that is the easiest, quickest answer. Jagatai Khan returns, and he says, "Okay, everybody, we're now a legion again." So, talking about the Space Wolves. Now,
brother, I see that you too have found yourself an Eldar booty. I have too.
So talking about the Space Wolves, the 13th Great Company returning is part of a number of things that are pointing towards an event called the Wolf Time. The Wolf Time is it's a prophecy that suggests that the chapter would stand on the edge of some kind of greater destiny or cataclysm. And when this Wolf Time is nigh, is when Leman Russ is said to he will return. The prophecy is that Leman Russ will return during the Wolf Time. And a lot of signs in the current era of 40K point to now being the Wolf Time. It's not out of the question to say that Lehman Russ as a Primarch might return. Who knows? Even 2026 or by 2030. I don't know. If he seems the most likely loyalist Primarch to be the next one to return, if they're going to do it.
All I know is I want my giant werewolf Primarch.
That would be rad.
I want him to come back while Magnus is doing something. Like Magnus is finally about to kill Gilliman because every Primarch takes their turn killing Gilliman. It's just kind of a thing. And Magnus is about to do it, and right as he goes to like stab down with his staff, there's just a hand on it. It's just giant wolf hand, and he's just like, "Brother," and just turns around and just giant werewolf man just starts beating the piss out of him.
So getting Lehman Russ out of the way, as his return would obviously be like, okay, now we're all together under one banner. It's important to point out that once again, the Space Wolves are kind of always this way. I mean, Logan Grimnar could walk out today and say, okay, we're doing wolf time now, so you all need to follow me. And they would, because they all would. That's just how Space Wolves are. So the Space Wolves don't need much of an excuse to get together as a legion and do things as a legion. They kind of always have. Logan Grimnar could, though, like he could come out and say, one of my first thoughts was he could come out and make a formal announcement that the wolf time is here. They just remove all ambiguity. Him or Njal Stormcaller, who is their chief, not chief librarian, but
he's definitely their
priest.
chief librarian.
He's their chief rune priest, their lead rune priest. I
forget. Or Bjorn the Fell-Handed could call it.
Bjorn could call it. There's at least 3 guys who could just walk out today and say, if the wolf time is now here, and everybody would say, okay, got it. We're on board. This could be an excuse to muster all of the great companies to create a single sustained war front, to just make a massive army of Space Wolves if you really want to do that, and go do a thing, because the Blood Angels have done it. The Ultramarines are kind of doing it. The Dark Angels are kind of doing it. It feels like this might be the right kind of time for this kind of event to go off.
It also makes sense, like, even without the wolf times, them forming the Legion does make sense, considering how many times in a row they were attacked. First by the Dark Angels, then by Magnus. Then they took their remnants and tried to fight for Cadia, lost almost all of their companies. They lost a good chunk of the 13th company to the Dark Angels when they came back, because they were all werewolves. And Dark Angels were like, oh, they're murdering people. Gotta bombard them. So I could see Logan just being like, you know what, Bjorn, we're reforming the legions, and he would just be like, okay.
Micah points out, he says, werewolf, talking about werewolf Lehman Russ, it would make the furry community happy, but I want my Viking dude back.
It's never a Viking. Oh my god, he's the furthest thing from a Viking. Like, at best, you could say he's Norse, but a Viking? Jesus, no.
Nestor Vitumber says, Lehman Russ returns, but leaves again when he sees that his children now believe the story of being barbarians instead of just pretending to be. That would be a really interesting thing, because the Space Wolves of 30K did pretend to be barbarians, whereas the 40K version of the Space Wolves is perhaps a lot closer to that facade. Then, yeah, that very good point, Mr. Vitumber. That would be a really interesting moment for Lehman Russ to be like, hey.
Also, Odin is taken by Magnus, unfortunately.
Not just Magnus, but also the Emperor, and also there's at least one other guy. I know you said this before. There was like 3 or 4 different versions.
Yeah, there's 3 or 4 different Odins in this setting, and it's very strange how many Odin-ish guys appear. But I have a theory, and it involves Isha.
Okay.
So I have this whole thing about, you know how your brain is like an emissary of a god?
Yeah.
Well, we do know that some other gods exist. Some other Eldar gods exist. Isha is one of them. So is Kegaroth. So is the Avatar, kinda. Well, but not really.
It's Cain. He's just split up into little shards.
Yeah. He sharded himself. But the other 3 didn't, for some reason. So my idea is that you get somebody like, you start with your brain, Yvraine is talking to her Solitaire, her Harlequins that are with her at the time, and then they send this message to Ethereal Stern. Ethereal Stern has to go and find. She has to go and find Logan Grimnar. Not knowing exactly what war zone he's in, she goes to the Nephilim catastrophe that's happening, the Necron one. Eventually finishes the fight there, and then finds the current whereabouts of the Space Wolves. Okay, and she bears a message. Now the Ministorum and the Space Wolves are not on good terms at the best of times. So them being like seeing a sister of battle come to them, it might start raising alarms like, here these guys are back to tell us about the Emperor. We know about the Emperor. Stop it. And she might be coming alone or with a contingent that follows her beliefs.
Well,
so she might have
Stern travels with Kyganil, remember? So.
Yeah. But when she comes down, she has a one-on-one with Logan Grimnar. And she conveys the message that Isha needs to be freed, and Isha will, if Isha is freed, then the Wolf Times will happen, or the Great Wolf will return. Something to that degree. And the reason that this is all happening now is because the Emperor stepped foot on the Garden of Nurgle and burned it. So there is a inn for the Space Wolves.
There's a path.
So, yeah. So they all start unifying and they start building up their legion as strong as they can, as quick as they can. They have a ton of scouts, a ton of Imperials with them, a ton of everything. And they go in and try to free Isha. In doing so, they find their Primarch. Again, I think it is a Primarch rescue story.
I mean, it could be. That's an interesting one to me.
Because it goes into more the mythos of like, if you're going to do like the Viking thing, you have to do the sagas, going to different lands, doing an actual Viking. Like, yes.
Yeah. Scutari Boy gives us a super chat. Thank you, Scutari Boy. Really appreciate your support. In case you don't know, super chats are the best way to keep the show going, to support us and what we do. Frankly, we couldn't do it without your support. So we do really appreciate it when you guys throw these up at us. And we will read them every time. Scutari Boy says, High Lords are seeing all the legions reunite and slamming the Minotaurs button and panic calling the Inquisitors who deal with legion building. Yeah, well, since the Great Rift showed up, I think the High Lords are probably a lot less worried about legions and a lot more worried about chaos and the Imperium falling apart. And, you know, Gilliman is the one doing some of the legion building, and he's the regent of Terra. So probably a few of the High Lords are like, you know what? It's fine.
Also, a lot of the High Lords right now are fighting with each other because they lost a lot of their power.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and don't forget Morven Val. She got elevated recently, and that didn't go well for the High Lords of Terra. So they're in a state right now. The High Lords are a little bit like, oh shit, what do we do? So that's that part. We have a comment here from Ricardo Andres. Says, I read somewhere that Magnus alluded that Lehman is trapped somewhere, so Wolf time to get him back, which we just talked about. And there's a lot of things. Ricardo Andre says you can tie in with Lehman Russ, like Isha, Mortarian's redemption, Yvraine, and Eldrad. I mean, yeah, why not? Let's get as much stuff, as much Eldar stuff as we can. That'd be great. I'm down. And then Nestor Retumber says, my preference for Russ to return is in a mutated beastly form, but still retain all of his intelligence and subtlety. It would be a nice nod to his dual identity in 30K.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm down for that.
That's not bad, actually. I really kind of dig that.
Also,
that's
give
really
him
cool.
Give him a proper shield and sword. Like if he's gonna be a Viking, give him the right war gear.
Well, he has a sword. He has two swords.
You dumb sword shield. He should have a shield. He is a Viking.
Well, he has two wolves as well. So
hey, he's raised by wolves. His parents,
Freaky and Geary. Anyway. There are a couple of other ways other than the hunt for Lehman Russ. So Logan Grimnar did issue a thing recently called the Kinpack Declaration. And this is where he recognizes Space Wolf successors like the Wolf Spear as all true sons of the Wolf King. And that means they keep the only requirement is that they have to keep the Vilka Fenrica traditions and customs of their Fenris. So that means that you could potentially have this idea of the kin pact declaration and say, by the way, there's all these successor chapters that we've been hiding from you, Imperium. Or by the way, there's all these successor chapters that the Imperium's been hiding from us. And you could use that to create, to unveil a whole bunch of more Space Wolves than we ever thought were out there. Maybe some great hunts return that were thought lost. Maybe some.
Ooh.
Oh, you like that idea?
The Dark Wolves coming back, because
right?
the Dark Wolves fell to chaos.
Well, that's what we're told.
I could see them coming back because Leman Russ returned. They're arisen, but they could call them like I think it's called Driders or something. Essentially the zombies of the sagas.
Oh, Draugr.
Really cool. Draugrs, yeah.
Draugr, yeah. Like Skyrim.
Yep.
Okay. Draugr. Draugr is a great name. I'm a big fan.
There's a comment here I want to read really quickly.
Druzina Quaishian says Leman Russ comes back is either as Odin or werewolf and proceeds to hunt the Grey Knights and the Inquisition to extinction. I mean, that would be. I mean, he probably wouldn't be real fond of the Inquisition. Grey Knights, I don't know if he'd really be that worried about.
I think he'd be okay with the Grey Knights, to be honest.
Grimnar is the one that had the issue.
Yeah.
To be clear.
But like the Primarchs see problems on a different level than the individual, where they see threats to the galaxy versus threats to the chapter. So I could see him being like, oh, Grey Knights, these are like the modern day Sisters of Silence. They're here to fight chaos. Got it. The Inquisition, they're a bunch of assholes. I don't like them.
I mean, the Inquisition is just like any other part of Warhammer 40K. There's a spectrum of like decent people to very, very not decent people, and Inquisitors fall down. There is no decent one monolithic faction that is all this thing all the time. You know. So that is kind of what I was thinking for the Space Wolves. You got the Wolf Time, you got the Kin Pact Declaration. You could have, obviously, the Fang was very recently attacked. Fenris was very recently attacked, and they have enemies like the Thousand Suns and, you know, technically the Inquisition that they could go after as a group.
There are a number of Inquisitors that actually do like this Space Wolves, though.
I mean, they are a very well respected chapter.
Yeah, especially that one that got hit on by Bjorn the Fellhanded.
Skitari Boy says, oh, thank you, Skitari Boy. You're killing it today. If Layman saves Isha, she has to domesticate him. You know what? If Gilliman can have an Eldar waifu, why can't Layman Russ? He shows up. He's like, I rescued Isha. She's like, tell him the rest. Yes, dear. I also rescued Mortarion.
Hey, Gilliman, sorry. Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh my god. You know, we're gonna turn this into a slice of life manga just one of these days.
Oh, sorry, I clicked the wrong one.
Super Orlok. Super Orlok says, I would rather Russ come back similar to Tyr.
Yes.
In what way? Let's talk about that.
Being all-knowing, like, and actually, like, super chill. Like, Tyr is amazing. Odin's an asshole.
Well, Tyr lost his hand. I know that.
Hey, who hasn't?
Lost his hand to Fenris, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Or was it Garm? No, I think it was Fenris. And he's missing a hand. So Tyr, so in this case, Super Orlok, you're saying that he would be wiser, less prone to go off and kill an entire planet just because Horus told him to? Is that what you're thinking? So I don't know. Yeah, Tyr is Dorn, says Nestor Vitumber. I mean, that's probably a closer analog.
No,
at least as far as the hand. At
okay,
least
fair
as far
enough.
as the hand.
But last I checked, Tyr didn't stick his hand into a magic torture box, which is just a direct nod to Dune.
Ricardo Andre points out
Surprisingly,
that Isha is supposedly married to a huntsman. I'm guessing Kernus. Personally, Isha's Mortarian's boy trauma bond thanks to Nurgle. I mean, if Mortarian, yeah, they could trauma bond. They certainly could trauma bond over that.
it is really funny that Mortarion is one of the few Primarchs that's not loved by anybody. Like his Legion doesn't respect him as much. They still heed him, but they respect Typhus more.
Yeah,
Scabatrax had to sit there and just be like, "Look, guys, Nurgle loves everyone, even Mortarion." And Mortarion's just like, "Dude, the fuck."
I'm right here. I'm standing right here.
That was one of the most awkward three-way calls in history.
I've got a new super chat. Petrus Hypatus. Thank you very much, sir. I do appreciate your support. Gilliman gave almost all Primaire Space Wolves to Grimnar to manage, tens of thousands. So there is a legion right there in the lore right now. Well, that's kind of what I was getting at with the Kinpact Declaration. Is that you could essentially say, the Wolf Spears are their own chapter, and that's great. But the rest of these are, or the Kinpact Declaration could be all of these are their own chapters, but they are all also part of the Space Wolves and therefore are under Logan Grimnar. So
You started this.
Ricardo Andre 7049 says, "What if the Primarch got a waifu? Lilith to Conrad." Lilith
could
is
see this.
dead. Lilith is dead. So is Conrad.
I could see Lilith and
Lilith.
Jagatai. No, who's the main witch cult girl?
That's Lilith
Lilith.
Hesperax.
Lilith Hexbrax and Khan together.
Oh, well, Lilith, I read her book actually pretty recently. She did go back to Cormorog. She did reestablish herself there. So Lilith Hesperax, it's Lilith, it's not even Lilith, it's Lilith Hesperax. Yeah, she she and the Khan might have some interesting words to have with each other. That's true.
Also, could you imagine their conversation with Yvrain and Gilliman? Because Lilith just looks at Yvrain. I killed you.
Lilith,
And she's just like, no, I came back to life. It doesn't count. Yes, it did. And Gilliman is just like, I see you found one too. And I didn't expect this, brother.
Skylar Martin 4298, thank you for the super chat. He says Isha and her himbo boyfriends, all of them a reverse harem. That would work too. You could have a polycule. Why not? It's what happens in the warp stays in the warp, I guess.
I still think my favorite tidbit of lore about Mortarion is that he's so goddamn petty that he made an exact replica of the palace on Terra, but he made it 7 centimeters bigger in every direction, including the custodians within are just bigger. They're not actually custodians, they're like weird creatures, but they resemble custodians, just putrefied.
Mortarion is a little bit petty, but he's nowhere near the level of some of these other guys that are out there.
Oh yeah.
But all right, so we've talked about the Space Wolves, and I really am glad that Petrus Hypatus came in and reminded me about that literally they are a legion. It's just an all but name, and that's kind of what I was going for with the Kinpact Declaration. I was trying to get there, Petrus Hypatus, but you beat me to it, and I do appreciate you bringing that up. So, this is a fun one. Nestor Vitumber says Mortarion's waifu is actually Morai Heg. Ooh. That's that's another dead god of the Eldar, but she would be an interesting companion, that's for sure. That's the hag goddess, Morai Hag.
What happens to dead Eldar gods?
Yeah, it's a good question. Do they have giant soulstones somewhere? That'd be kind of interesting. Anyway.
That is a huge question with thousands of implications. Can they just be thought beinged back into life?
I mean, if the Eldar could dream Slaanesh into existence, couldn't they dream a new god into existence, depending?
Well, like, are the Eldar gods warp gods? Is one of my biggest questions when it comes to Warhammer 40k.
Because Slaanesh would indicate yes.
Well, like, We know that they probably predate and come from the realm of souls before it became the turbulent warp that it is today. But also they had physical forms because, like, the reason I say they had physical forms is because the avatar of Cain, well, the not the avatar, Cain himself shattered, which means that there was something physical, or it was just the method of binding him to reality that broke.
Remember, when it gets to gods in 40K, you are on some very gray area
Well,
regions.
yeah, because
Are they physical? Are they not? Who knows? We have no clue.
then you get the whole like, what is a god in Warhammer? Do the Catan still count as gods, even though they were retconned 5,000 times? It does Gork and Mork still exist?
Gork and Mork, they are separate. They are technically separate gods. One is killing but brutal, and the other is cunning but brutal, and the other is brutal but cunning.
Yep.
Which I find to be a meaningless distinction.
They don't, and they will fight you whether you say that or not. They will just fight you.
They will,
doesn't
of course
matter.
they will. They'd fight me anyway. They'd fight me if I said nothing.
He said nothing.
Exactly. All right. So the next legion that we're going to talk about is the Imperial Fists.
They did it already.
Well, they did it during War of the Beasts, specifically.
Terrible series.
So the Imperial Fists do have a mechanism for this, but let's talk about where they are right now. They were badly hurt. So history-wise, they were very badly beaten at the Iron Cage and the War of the Beast. They technically won both of those, but they did it at great cost. So they've been kind of rebuilding. They've been rebuilding ever since. They are the paragon of the Codex Astartes discipline. So these are one of the least likely to reform as a legion, unless there was some really, really good reason for it. Just because they are so well integrated with the Codex Astartes and what it means and what it stands for. And obviously they were there at the Siege of Terra, so they know why legions are generally bad, and at least at that time where they were generally bad. They did take part in the fall of Cadia. They suffered serious losses fighting in and around the Cadian Gate. The Phalanx evacuated a whole bunch of Imperial forces from Cadia back to Terra,
Did you ever read the actual small story about the Phalanx getting attacked?
No.
Do you know who attacked it?
Who?
Bellicor. He really likes attacking things in space.
Just out of nowhere for no apparent reason.
Bellicor, because I just want to mention this story real quick. It's a side tangent, but I think it's important for the fact that the Imperial Fist would reform a legion because of this. So Bellicor and his Shadow Legion, but they weren't called the Shadow Legion yet because the Shadow Legion didn't exist yet. It existed in the next edition, but it was definitely the Shadow Legion because he had Space Marines with him. So it was yeah. So Bellicor split off from the Cadian battle and went with his Shadow Legion to Terra. Like, he directly ran to Terra to try to kill the Emperor as quickly as possible. And unfortunately, he landed on the Phalanx. I don't know how you miss a giant planet and hit a Phalanx, but, sure, why not? It's Bellicor. He's the master of failure.
He truly is.
So he appeared on the Phalanx and fought against the Imperial Fists. The Imperial Fists put up a really good fight against him, but were starting to lose. Bellicor was like, "Ha! Nothing you have can beat me unless you somehow summon, I don't know, spectral Space Marines to fight me." Oh no, spectral Space Marines! The Legion of the Damned showed up and destroyed him, which was supposed to be his canonical death in the series, and then they brought him back because he was popular. And that's how popularity works in 40K. If you die, it doesn't matter. If you're popular, you come back. So he was banished back to the warp. His legion defeated. And then with the Legion of the Dam aboard the vessel, they teleported, warp traveled across from Terra to the Cadian Gate in a very, very, very short time. Like, way shorter than it should have been. And then they started evacuating everybody. So the Legion of the Damned did something, which is cool because they never really do anything. They just kind of show up, win a battle, and leave. But apparently they talked, which is huge. We don't know what they said, but they said something. So yeah, just wanted to mention that because it was cool.
It is cool. It's undeniably cool. So the current status is that they're the Phalanx is damaged and it's being rebuilt with Custodes technology and assistance in orbit around Terra. In orbit around Terra. It's also being cleansed of chaos and corruption because of the actions of Be'lakor and other things. But they are positioned well to resurge if they wanted to. Now, what are some ways that the Imperial Fists could reform as Legion?
Well, the Last Wall Protocol.
The Last Wall Protocol is the first thing that comes to mind for sure. And what is the Last Wall Protocol of the Imperial Fists? I'm so glad you asked.
So the Last Wall Protocol is a basically it's a speed dial on their cell phone where they can call all of the different chapters that are originally from the Imperial Fists, and they can summon them back to reform the Legion for a defensive action. And that's how it gets around the Codex Astartes. It's whenever reform the Legion, it's just a defensive maneuver.
The Last Wall Protocol is it's a secret emergency order it created by Rogel Dorn, and it allows the Imperial Fists and all their successor chapters to reunite to fight as a single group, specifically when Terra faces annihilation.
Yep.
It is a contingency plan laid down after the Codex Astartes. So Dorn knew the Codex Astartes. He knew that this is not technically, this is like letter of the law, not spirit of the law stuff. And Dorn's like,
written, not as intended.
Exactly. So when invoked, the Last Wall Protocol says that every known Imperial Fist successor is commanded to suspend its independence, converge on a designated mustering point, and act under a unified Legion-style command structure. It's meant only for the most gravest crises. I know that's the crises. Crises is the plural of crisis, which is a very rare thing to say, but
crises.
And it's supposedly the Last Wall was put into place without Gilliman's consent. Like he is unclear whether he's even aware of this as a thing.
Yeah, I don't think it's mentioned in the not the Siege of Terra, the Scouring book.
Technically, the Last Wall Protocol is borderline treasonous in that it does kind of, reform a legion under one command. Just like you could argue the way the Unforgiven operate, just like you could argue how the Space Wolves operate.
Or how the Grey Knights operate.
Or, well, that's great. I was going to say Blood Angels now after post-devastation of Baal.
Oh, yeah.
So part of the reason why I thought of this as a topic was because it's happening. Like, this stuff is actually happening in the lore. It's really neat. But anyway, the last protocol was only ever activated once. It happened during the War of the Beast, which is M32, so around 2,000 years after the Siege of Terra. And it still exists, which meant that you could certainly argue that the Great Rift is a crisis requiring a crisis, not a crisis, a crisis that requires the Last Wall Protocol to go into effect.
Yeah. It is weird that the demons sieging Terra didn't trigger it.
Now, if I may, I think the main reason why the Last Wall Protocol is such a big deal is that this is an explicit order given by a Primarch that says, hey, on command, you are all one force. This is not the Unforgiven is kind of an informal coordination. The Space Wolves is kind of an informal coordination because the individual great companies are commanded by their own great wolves. But the Last Wall is far more formalized. It is a far more concrete agreement, I should say. This is, Nestor Vitumbra and Ricardo Andre were talking about how the White Scars are so independent that it would be difficult without a Primarch to come back together. The Imperial Fists are the exact opposite. They are so disciplined, and so they're a part of all this compact of the Last Wall Protocol. They don't need their Primarch to return. It could just be Last Wall Protocol is now effect. Everybody come back.
Yeah.
However, It's not the only way they could reunite. And I have, I think, a wilder idea here. Do you want to hear the really wild idea?
Of course I do. I love me some crazy ideas.
Okay, so one other unique factor about the Imperial Fist is that they have a successor chapter that is far more successful and beloved than they are.
Oh, yeah.
The
Yeah, there
Black
is.
Templars.
Yep.
So here's the wild idea. What if they did call the Last Wall Protocol? And what if the Black Templar showed up and there were more Black Templars than there were anything else? The single largest group returning is the Black Templars. And in any situation where you have this, you have to have some sort of overall commander. Now, the current commander of the Imperial Fists, yeah, I mean, he's
God,
respected.
what is his name?
He's respected and all, but he's no High Marshal Helbrecht, if you know what I'm getting
Yeah.
at. So I think this is a really interesting opportunity for the second founding the second founding, the successor, to take the lead. Now, I'm not saying the Imperial Fists would suddenly become Black Templars, but I am saying that there would be a closer bond between them, and that Helbrecht would be a lot more respected by his fellow Dornites, if you will. Although, again, the religious aspect would cause some really interesting conversations back and forth between them. What do you think of that?
I really like it. I love the idea. And yeah, it definitely makes sense. Although we do know that the Black Templar are currently fighting the Black Templar over the Primaris Marines, but that was only a passage in a book and then they got back along afterwards. Well, getting along with Black Templar is a whole, thing by itself.
The current chapter master of the Imperial Fist is a guy called Gregor Decion, and he sounds like a guy who should step aside for High Marshal Helbrecht to me.
Yeah. Yeah, he does.
I'm just going to point that out.
I tried to look it up and I was just like, I don't care. Like, we know Helbrecht. Helbrecht is cool. Any other way that I would try to change that just a bit? No, I really like the way you did it. Like, it makes sense. And I could just see the religious tension between them though. Because Black Templar hate like atheist Marines. Like that is something that they actually despise.
I mean,
No, sorry, hate is the wrong word. They won't go to blows over it, but they won't respect you.
It's going to be difficult for them to respect non-believers. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know about that, but it's very interesting to me, like to see how that would work out with the Black Templars, because that is one of the major things about the Imperial Fist was that they have they're the only first founding chapter that has a successor chapter more popular than they are.
I would argue that they have two.
Who's the second one? Crimson Fists?
And Fists.
I mean, fists. People do like the Fist, but there's look at the number of novels for Black Templars and look at the number of novels for Crimson Fists.
Yeah, that's fair. So, that's fair. Although, I mean, they are one of the most popular legions in Horus Heresy to play.
In Horus, 30K is a very different subject. We're talking about 40K though,
Yeah, we are.
So here's where I see the Phalanx in the role in this idea. If you do Last Wall Protocol, the Phalanx becomes the new chapter homeworld.
Yeah.
Or the new Legion homeworld.
Makes sense.
And they're like, Terra belongs to the Emperor. The Phalanx belongs to Dorne and all of the sons of Dorne. And this is where we shall be the sons of Dorne. Now, they also have the really cool thing, the Council of is it called the Council of Blades? They have the thing where they all get together and do gladiator sword fights to see who's the best.
Yeah, they did. It was very silly. I still feel like lore-wise, it would make way more sense for the Black Templar to be a successor chapter over the Dark Angels than anybody else, but that's just me.
The Feast of Blades. Sorry, the Feast of Blades is what it's called. So you could have a Feast of Blades aboard the Phalanx, the Feast of Blades, and have everybody just fight it out. Like, let's, best sword wins for leadership of the Imperial Fists or the Dorne, the Sons of Dorne, or whatever you want to call it. the Door Knight Crusade. I mean, that's what I would call it. I would. That's how I get Helbrecht in. Is I'd say we're declaring a Door Knight Crusade. Are you in? And
Yeah.
he's like, I mean, you guys don't really believe the Emperor is divine, but hell yeah, Crusade. I'm in. Let's go. And so
No,
you get the Feast of Blades, which is this competition of swordsmanship, and I it's hard for me to imagine anybody other than Helbrecht just doing, just not winning that. So that's kind of where my mind goes, is to that idea.
So if we were to talk offensively instead of defensively, what would bring them to bring back a legion?
So the Custodes have the Solar Watch, which is their protection of Terra, and the Sol system. And once the Phalanx is repaired, it's possible that the High Lords of Terra might, or Guilliman, might decide, hey, the Phalanx is better used offensively than defensively, because the Imperium has been defensive for a very long time, and Guilliman is very dynamic. He wants to extend, he wants to be on the advance rather than on the defense. So it's either the High Lords or Guilliman could say, okay, we want you to take the Phalanx and go do things. And to which the Sons of Doran might be, you mean a crusade? Because that's what we do.
Crusade, you say?
Right?
To shreds, you say?
So during the War of the Beast, the Imperium really did not like the idea of a legion-sized group of Door Knights. It's
okay. They got reduced to one member. It's
but
fine.
But the War of the Beast also showed that that's necessary. So I feel like the Lords of Terra would be like, okay, the rules are technically against this, but have you seen the Great Rift? Could you guys go do something about that, please?
Okay, so my idea for getting them to be an offensive legion again, for them to call up all their members and be like, hey, we're gonna go fight this guy. It has to be because of Perturabo.
The Iron Warriors. You have a great force to go fight, right?
Yeah. Here's what I think would whip all of the Sons of Dorn into an absolute frenzy, unifying them all into one purpose: destroying Perturabo. If Perturabo flies a ship with their dead Primarch on the front of it, just as an insult, just crashes it into, tries to crash it into the Phalanx, and the Phalanx has to destroy its own Primarch.
We also have a suggestion from Brock 6000. He says, as Ross said in the last RPG stream, have someone steal their stuff. Perturabo could steal the Phalanx, and he would like to steal the Phalanx. Let's be very clear.
You know what? He would probably get somebody to do it. If only there was a pirate group that's really popular in 40K right now.
Perturabo despises the Imperial Fists, and any chance to humble them he would take.
But could
the Mad Max Primarch across the front of the ship is kind of wild. I don't know. I feel like stealing the Phalanx would be pretty. That would be a blow.
It would be, but I love the idea of what they're doing is they're just going to crash a ship into the Phalanx to destroy it, and on the front of it is just their dead Primarch's body, just strapped to the front of it. So if they destroy the ship, they lose their Primarch forever.
Well, he's been dead a long time. I don't know.
But they would still venerate his body
if they could. Yeah. Well, I mean, famously, he was never recovered. So
yeah, exactly.
If it were me on board the Phalanx, I'd be the one saying that's probably a clone by Fabius Bile. We could probably just shoot that. I'd be that guy on the Phalanx. I mean,
we have to attack right now, brother. Stop thinking and get a weapon.
Yeah, well, what can I say? Yeah, Perturabo, witness me.
No, but jokes aside, is if Perturabo reveals that he has Dorn captured, would be a great way to unify all of the Sons of Dorn against him.
I think I do love the idea of the Fists and the Iron Warriors having a big final grudge match. It would be pretty sweet. I don't. I do feel like we're falling into the trap of let's go rescue the Primarch a lot, but there's.
But it works.
It's a cool idea, though. It is pretty rad. Like I like it. It's a trope because it is very compelling. I don't know. I feel like Dorn. Okay, it's been pointed out in the comments that Dorn could come back simply because Games Workshop likes money, and Primarch's returning means more money. Granted, having said that, I feel like Dorn is a good dead Primarch to have. Like he makes a good example of a dead Primarch as a, you know, kind of like when we talked about whether Sanguinius could come back and whether he should, is that Dorn also gives you that idea that Primarchs can die in battle, even, and they don't have to be killed by a greater demon or Horus. They can just get blown up. Their ship can get blown up and they can just die. Dorn gives us that. So bringing Dorn back takes a little bit of that away. It undermines a little bit of the fact that Primarchs are killable. That's all I'm going to say.
Besides, when it comes to the Primarchs, they're probably just going to bring back the 4 champions, which is not Sanguinius, but they're going to just elevate Dante to being essentially the Sanguinius stand-in. Gilliman, yeah. Oh, no, just Dante to be like an incarnation of Sanguinius. Because he keeps having those visions of Sanguinius.
Well, that's almost every Blood Angel does that.
Yeah, true. You have to bring back Leman Russ because that is the most requested Primarch at this point. And then it's just Gilliman and Lion.
Well, Vulcan is technically one that could come back. Horax could come back.
Can come back and popular enough to come back.
That's okay. Leman Russ leads the group on that one for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, so for the Imperial Fists, I don't know what else I would say here, except I think you've got a great idea as setting up a final grudge match against the Iron Warriors, and I think I have a great idea with bringing back the Black Templars into the fold somehow.
Without getting Primarchs involved, I think another one could be that they finally find like a massive manufactorum sector, which is all making the demon engines that has Perturabo on it.
Vashtor.
And Perturabo is currently working with Vashtor.
So why not both?
Yeah, even better. And then Be'lakor can come out of nowhere because he remains Vashtor. But that would be awkward for him. Hey guys, I'm fighting with you now. But I could see like this giant like manufactorum sector opening up, and you get like an Admech Sons of Dorn union that fights them. I think that could be really cool and a cool way to have like the different imperial religions interacting, because you could have like the Martians speaking with the Black Templar about the Emperor.
Like I said, go ahead.
Like you get some really cool like tension between them, but they're just like, you think it's the Emperor though, right? And they're just like, yeah, sort of.
Well, I feel like there'd be a lot of really interesting bits and moments and throughout this whole deal with the Black Templars, just contrasting the Black Templars against the Fists. And that's one of the reasons why I suggested Helbrecht becoming the leader of the Dornite Crusade. Would put him in a position where he has to actually listen and respect other viewpoints, which is not something that Black Templars typically do. And it would create some really delicious conflicts and tension. Alexis is suggesting Techplars, according to Nestor Vitumbra.
A really, really cool idea. Just saying.
So Last Wall Protocol, Feast of Blades, Black Templars, Dornite Crusade, the Phalanx, Vashtor plus Perturabo plus Iron Warriors. I think we have a pretty interesting idea for what if the Imperial Fists returned as a legion or reunited as a legion. I'm down with that. Yeah. I think I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about the Blood Angels. They already did this. It's called Devastation of Baal. Go check it out. It's a fantastic story. The short version is Dante called all the successor chapters of the Blood Angels back to Baal to defend it against the Tyranids. They damn near got wiped out and only got rescued at the very last minute by the Indomitus Crusade, and then they got a refill of Primaris Marines to replace all their losses. So but they have bonded together. It's a group called the Sanguinary Brotherhood that Dante forged from the successor chapters, which famously included the Flesh Terrors, who were never very fond of Dante or the Codex Astartes, and the Knights of Blood, who were actually declared excommunicate traitoris, but they both returned and they both fought, and they are both, the Knights of Blood were wiped out. But the Flesh Terrors are now back in the fold. They're part of the Sanguinary Brotherhood.
One of the cool things about that whole story that I absolutely loved was how the Tyranids, like once they left Synapse, still held on to the ideas and still did what they were told. There's a really cool scene of a Lictor taking down a void shield, and how it does it is it kills itself and then lets its acid blood melt the control network to the void shield generator. And
Well,
it's just this
well,
such a cool scene.
it's a reference to Alien Resurrection.
It is. It 1000% is.
Yeah.
It's just such a cool scene.
There are a couple things I do want to bring out about the Blood Angels that I think would be really interesting, is that they are, you could look at it, if you could frame the Sanguinary Brotherhood as a combined rebuilding of the Blood Angels and all their successor chapters all at once. And this gives them a unique opportunity to reestablish bonds of brotherhood with each other, to reestablish bonds to the authority of Dante, who is not only the head of the Sanguinary Brotherhood, but the Lord Regent of the Imperium Nihilus, as given to him by Gilliman. So he has a huge amount of authority. It would be a short leap to say, okay, Dante controls all Blood Angels and all Blood Angel successors, to Dante controls the Sanguinary Brotherhood, to, well, the Sanguinary Brotherhood is basically just the Ninth Legion again.
Yeah.
Which is the
I also think that a lot of people don't realize just how dwindled down Space Marines were prior to the Primaris Marines. No Space Marine chapter had 1,000 members towards the end. This isn't counting the Black Templar. The Black Templar did suffer greatly, and each crusade had immense losses at this point. But a lot of chapters were down to like a few hundred Marines right before, yeah. Well, right before the Primaris reinforcement. I think the worst was like the Space Wolves. Without counting the 13th Company, they only had like 300 members left.
During the devastation of Baal, Dante talks about how many actual Blood Angels he has, and there's only a few hundred, because he sent a big force under Astarath to the Cadian Gate. And during the devastation of Baal, it's one of my favorite parts during the devastation of Baal is they combine all the death companies into one massive giant death company army, and it's insane. I was just like, holy shit. Yeah, and the death company's out there fighting Tyranids. Are you Horus? You look a lot like Horus.
Did you you read the books, right, and everything? Did you read the part where they, for some reason, like the longer and longer you stay as a death company, you start losing everything, including like your mind, your body, and everything, and you turn into these like crimson monster things?
Yeah, well, so there are abominations, yeah, that exist in the tower where they were held. That those are references to vampire lore and references to the vampire counts and various other things. They were all destroyed according to Devastation of Baal, but they were hulking monstrosities that at one point had been Blood Angels.
Is it bad that I constantly just think of them as just gorillas?
I mean,
vampire gorillas.
They're really big and nasty things.
Like, just imagine that. Like, you walk into a vampire's lair and just vampire gorillas come after you.
The only other thing I would say here is that you could have, because they do share visions of Sanguinius, you could have some sort of chapter-wide vision or prophecy or, hallucination, if you will, that affects all of them, and they're like, oh, we must go here and do the thing. I just, frankly, there's just not much else to say about the Blood Angels, because they already have done it, and they are doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, like they are the Dark Angels at this point. They are doing it already.
They're doing the thing.
Instead of being like the Knights of the Round Table, they're the blood vampire knights.
This was so funny because I did a stream over on the Warhammer Fantasy channel. We were talking about the War of the Beard, and one of the comments came in asking me like, who would win, a vampire or a space marine? And my answer was, good news, there are space marines who are also vampires.
How would the vampire get through the armor?
I mean,
I guess he could just rip off the helmet.
So vampires from Warhammer Fantasy are very powerful individuals, but they lack some important things like ranged attacks. So
yeah,
even before you get to the armor, you have to deal with some of that. Anyway, this is not a stream about whether vampires can kick space marines' asses or not.
Well, it's like how close do they have to be to see the hypnotic gaze?
Does it even work? I mean, there's a lot of questions involved here. It's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to the Iron Hands, shall we?
So, you know how we talked about the Imperial Fists not the Imperial Fists,
the White
Scars not having a lot of lore?
Yeah.
Well, we cut the head right off of this one. They have no lore. They have so little lore that they are referred to as the Iron Warriors 90% of the time by the fan base.
Ricardo Andre says, hey, that was me. And obviously I meant Warhammer Fantasy Vampires versus and Astartes. Also, magic exists, so F range. My debate partner, Ricardo Andre. I love it.
Oh my God. We had a whole, me and Victor sat down one day and debated whether or not Warhammer's psychic powers would actually affect high-willed individuals from fantasy. Because Warhammer's psychic powers are very much willpower based. Mm-hmm. So the stronger your will is, the more you can resist it. And
it depends on whose rules are in play, really. So let's talk about the Iron Hands. Currently, the Iron Hands are headquartered on Medusa, which is their longtime homeworld. They're divided into 10 clan companies. The thing about the clan companies of the Iron Hands is that each one is kind of like a mini chapter.
Yep.
The clan companies can be more than 1,000 Space Marines. They can be more than 100 Space Marines. They can be almost chapter size. Strategic direction comes from a group called the Iron Council, which is the Iron Fathers and clan leaders and senior officers of the chapter. I'm not sure. Do they have a current chapter master of their own hands?
They do. He has a power Kanabo. I just cannot remember his name. He actually has a miniature. Let me see if I can find him real quick.
Cardin Stonos is apparently his name. He is the elected chapter master. So the Iron Hands, the Iron Fathers, they elect a chapter master. So it's this guy, Cardin Stonos.
Yes.
He's been chapter master since 5th edition. Holy mackerel. That's really cool. All right. Anyway, so yeah, suffice to say they have a chapter master, but he's not anyone you would recognize.
Yeah, no. I do like his power Kanabo. So I would recognize him by that. And he's also in Gorgon Terminator armor, which is really cool. His miniature kicks ass.
All I can say is I know Kasaro Khan's name. I did not know this guy's name.
Oh, yeah, neither did I. I knew Kasaro Khan.
So even the White Scars chapter master is more well-known than this guy. He's more well-known than the Imperial Fist chapter master. So.
Because every time I think of the Imperial Fist chapter master, I think of the guy with the fist hammer, whose name I can't remember right now. Captain Defender. But he's not the chapter master. He's a captain.
He's just a captain, yeah.
Just like I think of Shadow Captain Kevin Shrike.
Oh, he is the chapter master, though.
No, he's not. He's the Shadow Captain. They have a chapter master.
No, he became. Shrike is now the chapter master.
No, there's another one that's now the chapter master. Okay. He has a new model and everything, and it's really weird because he went back into the shadows, and the whole lore is very silly because they introduced another character.
Oh, it's not. You're right. It's not. It's Severax.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
No, it's oh my God, what is his name?
Sean. Ethan Sean.
Yeah, Ethan Sean is the
Yeah,
actual chapter master.
Ethan Sean is the chapter master. Okay, you're right. I thought Shrike was. It's Ethan Sean. Yeah. See, that's the thing. You get a popular guy. You get a character who's so well known. Ragnar Blackmane used to be this. We're confused all the time as the chapter master of the Space Wolves. He wasn't. He was just the most well known guy. And like Shrike became that for the Raven Guard. And yeah. So anyway, this is not a show about obscure chapter masters, although it could be.
Well, it's like we have to bring up these characters because they are important to the discussion. It's just, guys, GW does not like talk about these guys at all or make them like. What's weird about Ethan Sean is that he has the most badass chapter master model out of all of them. His chapter master model looks incredible, and I want it really badly. Like I really should just go and buy it at this point. But like, But we're not talking about the Raven Guard yet.
Ricardo Andre says there are 2 Iron Hand successor chapters, pre-Primaris, born out of a religious schism thanks to Mars. So it literally has to be thanks to the new Primaris. Yeah, they do have some successor chapters. The new Primaris would help bring them up to strength. The Iron Hands have been under strength for a very, very long time. They've been under strength since Istvan 3, Istvan 5, which was during, the very start of the Horus Heresy. These guys, they've been rebuilding from being shattered over 10,000 years. And it's been difficult because their Primarch was the first Primarch to die. And that moment when Ferrus Manus got beheaded by Fulgrim, it shattered not only their legion, it shattered their psyches. They are very different people before and after this thing happened. And for a long time, they just were kind of insane. They roamed around as the bitterest, coldest sons of bitches in the galaxy for a very long time. The clan masters, the Iron Fathers, and the clans on Medusa kind of eventually pulled things back together. But even so, there is a trauma, not unlike the trauma the Blood Angels have over Sanguinius, but there is a trauma that has been passed on culturally that is just remained throughout. Ricardo Andre says they need therapy. They are shattered, and doubling down on augmetics has prevented them from being healed. That's a good point. And they are very much into the flesh is weak. They want to replace their body with as much
Which
iron
is
as possible.
weird because the whole thing about the iron flesh over steel is actually like half the quote.
Yeah, well, it's again, they went a little crazy after their dad died. And I don't
shouldn't
necessarily
have brought a pipe wrench to a sword fight.
Well, that wasn't the problem. Frankly, Ferrus Manus is a very flawed Primarch. We can all agree on that. So how would the Iron Hands return as a legion?
Okay, so in one of my favorite books in the entirety of the Heresy, the Siege of Terra and the Heresy, is Master of Mankind, written by Aaron Densky-Bowden. He is one of my favorite writers. He is incredible. And in it, a certain Ferrus Manus comes back as a missing head, flamey Legion of the Damned looking dude and fought a bunch of demons. Now, hear me out. The Legion of the Damned deliver that to them.
Okay, so here's the thing. I think Ferrus Manus and the dead of Istvan 5 being the Legion of the Damned is a really cool idea. However, I don't think that means he is alive. I think it may mean it's a spiritual thing. It's a psychic echo. And I see their role with the Iron Hands would be more like the Watchers in the Dark with the Dark Angels. They show up and herald some kind of great event, or they can pass on a message perhaps, but they're not really, they don't just sit around. They don't bring things or gifts, they would show up to kind of lend their authority to something, maybe like at a great clan council on Medusa. Having them show up would be a big moment.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Also, I do want Ferrus Manus, like the Legion of the Damned variant of Ferrus Manus, to be the leader of the Legion of the Damned as a separate army thing, because that would be really, really cool.
Agreed.
Like,
The headless horseman, essentially in
yeah,
40K. Yeah.
but like never state that he's Ferrus Manus. Just keep it as is this Ferrus Manus? Even though all of us are just like, that's Ferrus
That's
Manus.
totally
And
fair.
GW's like, oh, we'll never say.
Yeah, very coy. Yeah, very coy about it. Yeah, that'd be cool. So they did get Medusa did get attacked during the Great Grift era, including by a large Death Guard group and some other allied war bands. They do have the Moire schism is what was being referenced earlier about the schism of Mars that created the Sons of Medusa. They are still, like this brutally efficient, Mechanicus leaning, heavy firepower, armored spearhead type group. And they fight alongside Forge Worlds and Titan Legions for the most part. But you could see some ways to bring these guys together that I think would be really interesting. One of the first things I would talk about is not unlike a crusade, but you call some sort of call to action, like a host of iron, that is proposed, like we will become a host of iron and we will strike back at those who have
Iron
wronged
Crusade.
us. Well, you could call it that. I don't want to keep going back to like the crusade.
It's the Iron Age.
Yeah.
I could see them actually naming it the Iron Age.
I don't know about that. But so the Great Clan Council could be formed of all the clans of Medusa. And as I said, each clan company is basically like a mini chapter. So just by getting all the clans in one place, you kind of have a legion. But if you brought in the Sons of Medusa, if you brought in other folks, the Brazen Claws, the Iron Lords,
it's the Hand Crusade.
I mean, I don't really want to call things crusades too often. But if you
that was just one of the comments. Sorry.
I'm taking the host of iron is the name I've come up with for this idea. But you create a host of iron, and basically you say, okay, we are bonded by our link to Medusa. We're bonded by our link to Ferrus Manus. And this is, it could be a kind of, again, like the situation on Chigoris where, hey, our homeworld's been attacked. We need to reevaluate. We need to figure out what we're going to do next. And Medusa is a great place to do a base for a legion because it has it's tons of forges on Medusa. But you know what I think would be really interesting is actually if these guys had picked an enemy that wasn't necessarily one we've seen too often with the other. Well, so far it's all been like, our arch enemy. What if the host of iron was gathered to destroy Octarius or another orc empire, a major orc empire? Maybe they're going after Gazgul. I don't know. But I like the idea of the host of iron marshaling to fight the orcs. I think that would be a really fun thing to do.
Okay, I'm there with you. I like that.
Some kind of long grinding conflict where the Iron Hands and their cold machine logic could really make a big impact. And the calculus of battle would help weld them together over their individual chapter pride. Like this is brought up when we talked about the White Scars, how the individual chapters can be hard to weld together. The Iron Hands have it. I think they have a way in if they use this idea that, the logic and math and like, the technical part of their brains can kind of share this link and be like, okay, you know what? This is how we succeed. The numbers don't lie.
I raise you that it's not just the orcs. It's not Gazgul. Let's leave Gazgul to Armageddon. That's where his favorite place is. What if it's the Beast Snaga boys? Because then you got instinct versus cold logic.
Now we're talking. I like this.
You could create a brand new massive Beast Snaga boss that is hell bent on destroying Medusa. Because there are orc warbands near Medusa. They see it as Medusa is this great mythical creature. Okay, let's hunt it. Perfect reasoning for orcs. They don't need anything else from that. So they're heading to Medusa. They call the host of iron to come and defend. similar to that of the Last Wall Protocol, but this one is about bringing most of the chapters to the home and then bringing a few other chapters to engulf them so that there's no escape for the orcs. So
And this
now we have this whole logical battle of attrition.
and the way you get this done is you say to the clan council that fighting as separate individual groups is less efficient. It is more weak to fight alone than together. Clans together strong. You just do that, because strength is a core concept to Medusa culture. It is a core thing to the Iron Hands, and they don't want to be weak. So if you make the case that fighting as we have been is weakness, they might be like, you know what? Yeah. Let's come together.
Also, Friend or Trader says freebooters is greater than Beastnagas. I fully agree with you, but freebooters are too smart for this. Freebooters actually think. Beastnagas hunt.
Ricardo Andre points out the Green Crusade is right there in the Scars sector. That's a good possibility. I picked Octarius just because it would be interesting to involve them because they've been a really interesting background thing that I'd like to bring more into the foreground. But you're right. The Grey Crusade would also apply. But what do you think of this? What do you think of the Host of Iron as an idea?
I really like it. Like I love the idea of it. I like the attrition warfare of it because it's not inherently defensive like the Imperial Fist. It's not offensive like the Blood Angels. It's actually it's a bit of both.
Highly offensive. I find that extremely offensive.
Good joke.
I also don't want to spend a lot of time on the Ultramarines, who are our next choice.
Do you think it's a slur to the Iron Warriors to say heads up?
Oof. Iron Hands. Yes.
Iron Hands. See? 90% of the fan base.
Ultramarines have already done this. Essentially, the Ultramarines have called their successor chapters back to Ultramar. They have incorporated them as tetrarchs of the 500 worlds.
It's totally different, Ross. You don't understand.
Yeah,
it's completely different. It's just Gilliman in charge of thousands and thousands of Marines. I don't see it as a legion. What?
Gilliman's been very careful to try and not make it look like they're all Ultramarines, but they are all Ultramarines. Like it's de facto versus what he says. But yeah, the Tetrarchy and the Ultramarines have involved many, many different chapters. The Genesis chapter, the Mentor Legion, and I imagine we'll see more of this in the 500 Worlds books that are coming out. So suffice to say, it's kind of already happened. It's kind of already happening. It's actually the next big thing for Warhammer 40K, and I don't know much about what that's going to be until those books are released. So there you go. The Ultramarines are doing the thing.
It is kind of silly that the 500 Worlds campaign just immediately starts and ends. It kind of bugged me a little bit. Like, it's not a continuing story. It's just, here's the Crusade book, have fun. And I was like, all right, does Titus do it?
Ricardo Andre says, Gilliman is balancing the act of getting the legions back versus appearance. It has been noted that he, in fact, wants the legions back because they are easier to use as a military force. This is why the Lords of Terror wouldn't be that upset.
Yeah.
And Gilliman, of course, is the Regent of Terra, so he could. Yeah, he's only doing this to keep up appearances. It's totally a legion that has been reconstituted, and this is probably why he was fine with Dante. He's like, you know what? It's cool. The Sanguinary Brotherhood. You're wearing Sanguinius' mask. It's fine. It's fine.
Hey Dante, why is the Silent King wearing your dad's mask?
No,
we'll never explain that.
Dante wears the mask of the Sanguinius.
Oh yeah, but the Silent King has the mask of Sanguinius as well.
Does he? Oh, interesting.
Yeah, okay. And it's never explained in any book ever. And it's really weird because it's just a passage that when Dante met the Silent King, he was wearing Sanguinius's death mask. And he's just like, the interpreters for him were just like, ah, yes, in fact, we talked to him during the heresy.
Mhm.
We are never going to do a follow-up question to this. Okay, bye.
Friender Trader says Gilliman and the Guile. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
And we had another comment that I thought was very interesting, which was that Friender Trader says, "Host of Iron, roll out." Yeah, it would be a little bit like Autobots coming back.
Yeah.
Although there's also the Keys of Hell. We forgot about that. The Keys of Hell, which were kind of like Vulcan's treasures, which we're about to talk about, in that they were these things that were created by Ferrus Manus that were, I mean, generally a lot darker and scarier than Vulcan's stuff, but nevertheless they exist, and they were looking for them, and you could use that as a way to unite the Iron Hands as well as the Keys of Hell. Anyway, now let's talk about. Go ahead.
If you guys want to go ahead and support the channel, Super Chat is the best way to do it. It goes a long way to helping us out, and it's super cool. And it makes Kovu happy.
Making Kovu happy, it needs to happen.
He's sleeping on my lap right now.
Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm wearing an Aladdin's Castle shirt today. And the reason I chose Aladdin's Castle is because it is a thing from the past that I would like to see again. Kind of like the Legions are a thing of the past that I would like to see again. I know it's a stretch, but there you go.
That was good. That was good. I like that.
So the Salamanders are the next one we need to talk about. They are currently doing okay. They have their homeworld, the Nocturne. They're still there. They still have the Forge World, or Forge Moon, I should say, of Prometheus. They still have their very strong bonds with the civilians. Vulcan Histon, I do know this guy's name, is the Forge Father. That's the name they have for their chapter master of the Salamanders. He leads the third company, as well as questing for the 9 lost artifacts of their Primarch Vulcan, who is missing and could return. Although then you'd have 2 guys named Vulcan in the same group.
The details. You're overthinking it.
They've integrated their Primaris Space Marines, and their successor chapters are groups like the Covenant of Fire and the Hammers of Nocturne. I mean, I don't know what else to say. They're a little bit boring, unfortunately. The Salamanders are a little bit boring. Oh, there's Kovu. What a cutie.
So recent developments to the Salamanders is a little bit silly, and it heavily involves Trazine.
I misspoke. Tushan is the chapter master.
Yeah, Tushan is awesome.
Vulcanistan is the far more well-known character, though.
Yep. In terms of gameplay, like actual 10th edition, it's reversed. Histon is known, but the chapter master is way more played than both of them are way played now because they're both really good. But one of the more recent developments of the Salamanders is a bit silly, in my opinion, and it's that Trazine has Vulcan, potentially. He has a green giant that regenerates. It's definitely not Vulcan.
It's definitely not the Hulk.
Yeah. It actually could be a reference to the Hulk, which would be hilarious. But it is heavily implied that he has Vulcanistan in stasis, and that's why Vulcan is
not Vulcanistan, just Vulcan.
Oh, sorry, Vulcan. Sorry, I'm used to Histon. Because he's really cool. He's got a fire pike. That thing's awesome.
Yep.
Any Space Marine that uses a spear is amazing, because that would be a great weapon for a Space Marine. But the artifacts of Vulcan might also be a trick by Trazine to gather super rare artifacts that Trazine is missing from the heresy. Which I think is very funny.
Here's a great comment from Micah. We have Vulcan at home. It's Vulcan Histon.
It kind of is, though. It really is. Like, Vulcan is a name that is inherited for their captains. I think it's the captain of the first company inherits Vulcan as the name.
Well, Histon is the third company, so
I don't know. That's weird then. I know Vulcan is an inherited name in their culture.
So well, it's pretty easy to discuss a way to bring the salamanders back together. That's their culture, and they have this semi-religious reverence for fire.
Yep.
So you
They
could have
really like fire.
they really do. You could have a covenant of Nocturne or a covenant of fire as your name for your gathering together of the different successor chapters, which could include the Dragon Spears, the Dark Krakens, Iron Drakes, possibly the Black Dragons,
Possibly.
possibly. So you could, I mean, if you want to get some old school fans excited, the Black Dragons are coming back. What?
God, they haven't been mentioned since like third edition, have they?
It's been a long time. So
Like they have the just rewritten lore in the codexes currently, but it's the same lore. It hasn't done anything.
Micah points out that the Covenant of Fire sounds like a word bearer chapter. It does. There's, for sure. I agree.
Yeah, you're definitely not wrong on that one. It really so does.
But
Really
what
so does. English is my first language, I swear.
I'm basing this on is actually not unlike the word bearers, is based on a book, The Tome of Fire, which is guiding Vulcanistan on his quest to recover the items of Vulcan. And you know, that is, to me, that's the way you get everybody together. You get the band back together when Vulcanistan shows up and he's like, I have them. I have gathered the artifacts. We have the 9 treasures of our Primarch. Let us meet and discuss what to do.
It's actually just Trazine throwing out a Pokeball. Hey, I want him back after you're done with him.
Ricardo Andre says, "Oh, that's a Covenant of Fire. I think that's the name of a trader ship." I mean, maybe there's an Imperial. I know there's an Imperial battleship named Belial, and Belial is the name of a guy in the Dark Angels. So I mean,
Yeah, there's a lot
happens.
of ships that share names with terrible incidents and everything.
It happens. The treasure is the friends we made along the way, along the war, says Micah. Yeah. But for real, you could have Vulcanistan show up with all of the treasures that he was seeking, the lost artifacts of Vulcan. And this would be a big enough deal to get everybody to come back to Nocturne and talk about what they want to do. Here's
it would be really cool if one of those lost artifacts was actually one of the things that Vashtor was after. I like how we keep coming back to Vashtor and we keep going like, he's such a great enemy, GW, please use him. And GW's like, who?
So, well, it could be him or it could be Be'lakor. You never know.
Yeah, that's true.
Here's what I'm going to propose for what they do. Like, what would a restored Salamander Legion do? We've talked about going after grudge matches, settling old debts. We've talked about
the Eldar. They're going after the Eldar. They fucking hate Eldar.
Well, hear me out. I'm going to use your term. Hear me out.
Okay.
I would actually lean into the idea that the Salamanders are the nice guys. I mean, they're not good guys, but they're the nice guys of 40K. They want to save people first and foremost. So I would propose that this Covenant of Fire or Promethean Host or the Fireborn, whatever you want to call them, I propose that what they want to do is some kind of great evacuation of the rift. They would go in, they would just start picking planets and say, okay, this planet is about to be attacked or will be attacked or soon will be engulfed by the rift and demons. And we are going to save as many of these people as we can. And maybe they construct some sort of transport on like the scale of the Phalanx. And they use that. Maybe that's one of the treasures of Vulcan. Turns out to be a big ass ship. And they could
be a Gloriana class ship.
Could be Vulcan's own Gloriana class ship. I don't know. But they use this and they go around and they start evacuating worlds along the rift. What do you think?
Okay. I love this for 2 reasons. So some of my favorite Salamander lore actually comes from them fighting the Inquisition because of the story that happens directly after it, where the mask uses Slaanesh cultists to sneak aboard the vessels that are being escorted out by the Salamanders, and then uses them to create a giant sacrifice circle for a few worlds and sacrifices them all to Slaanesh. So I could definitely see this happening on a grander scale and they might even come to blows with like the Inquisition again, like an actual inquisitorial fight. And they need to reform the legions to pull their resources together.
Quite
And
possible.
the Inquisition is just like, hey, you're letting possessed people and we have to kill all of them. And the Salamanders are like, no. Because that's kind of their MO.
Setting up a conflict between them and the Inquisition would be really cool. Leaning into the humanitarian side of the Salamanders would be really cool. Rebuilding their legion around the idea that they all share the Covenant of Fire or share the Fireborn aspects, I think would be really cool. And involving Vulcanistan in the search for the artifacts would be really cool. Here's something I don't think would be super cool, but is again the easy switch.
Okay.
Vulcan comes back.
Go, Vulcan, I choose you. Trazine with his little Ash Ketchum hat. Yay.
I gotta catch them all.
I actually really like the idea.
Ricardo Andre says the Flame Rot, Shadow of the Emperor, and Fist of Iron are presumed killed Edison 5. If the ships had escaped the trader blockade, they would have been noted most likely. He's talking. I believe he's talking about the Salamander ships.
Well, okay. So
these are actually all the I think these are the Gloriana class ships of the legions for the Salamanders, the Raven Guard, and the Iron Hands is what he's talking about.
Yes, they are. One of the things that could be one of the missing artifacts of Vulcan could have a Gloriana class transport ship that's just kitted out for mass transportation. Because Vulcan is a humanitarian. So he himself could have a hidden ship that he built.
It's possible. It's certainly possible. And he built a lot of stuff.
We also know that one of his relics is a spaceship, possibly, or a vehicle of some description.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I brought it up is it could be a ship, like a Gloriana class or something along those lines. Some big vessel. He's also immortal. He's definitely immortal.
Sort of. He's as perpetual as the writers remember they are.
Well, perpetuals can die. Malkador did die, and he was a perpetual. So.
Yep. Erda is also currently dead.
Hmm.
We don't know if she's back yet.
Ricky Chapman is back. He has got a super chat. Thank you, sir. We have arrived our drive and dive. It was hard. Many fishermen died at our hand. Now we are preparing to cook them with some lemon.
You know what? I'm so glad you committed to the bit.
Love it. Well done, sir. He loves it. I love how he tells stories through his super chats.
I know they're great. We get Ricky Chapman lore.
What else is there to say about the Salamanders reuniting as a legion?
Okay. So I love the Salamanders representing false hope. I always love that aspect of their storytelling is that they are the good guys, even though they're just space fascists that use millions of slaves. And a lot of people just kind of gloss over that because they hug each other.
Because they are the only ones who don't like collateral damage. They're the good guys. No, they're not. They're really not.
Yeah, even though they, murder Eldar by burning them to death, and their whole thing is burning worlds, which is horrifying for anybody that gets burned to death. But I love the idea that they are unintentional bad guys, where their actions, though noble and good, are ultimately doomed to fail because of chaos involvement. I love the idea that they muster for this grand crusade only to be tricked by Slaanesh. Because for some reason they have a lot with Slaanesh characters, but the Slaanesh characters don't directly state that they're fighting the Salamanders. It's just, hey, here's that timeline where the Salamanders evac'd a bunch of people, and then the demon thing happened. It's really weird. Like the Great Dance of the Mask is the prime example. So I just love the idea that they're doing all these great things and that it's ultimately just killing millions of people.
Well, I think that's basically it for the Salamanders. So let's talk about the Raven Guard.
I know my views on the Salamanders are way different than everybody else's.
they need love, just like the White Scars need love, just like the Iron Hands need love. They're
I
an
will say,
also ran chapter.
I will say this though: we know their characters, so they are more loved than the White Scars. No,
True,
more loved than the Iron Warriors.
true, and the Iron Hands.
Damn it! I corrected myself in my brain.
And kind of like the Imperial Fists, who I had to look up the name of the chapter master. I was like, who is this guy? God damn, I forgot all about him. All right. So the Raven Guard, their homeworld is Deliverance, which is technically a mining moon over the forge world called Kievar. Their fortress monastery there is called Ravenspire. Their big thing is their gene seed is degraded. Certain organs don't function, like the muconoid and the Betcher's gland. They have deathly pale skin because of it.
They've become so numb, they can't feel you there.
Oh God, Linkin Park emo boys, yeah. They were almost annihilated in 5, kind of like the Salamanders, kind of like the Iron Hands, and have recovered gradually over time. They received a very healthy boost from the Indominus Crusade, but they're still portrayed as being kind of rare, and they typically fight as like surgical strike forces rather than as a big, massive battle force. They do have some successors, roughly 20 successor chapters.
Damn.
I know, right? That's a lot of Raven Guard. The Raptors being one.
That is way more than I thought they did.
So,
so many.
I know, it's a lot. The Sons of Korax, I guess we'll call them. And their Primarch is alive. He's just currently chasing Lorgar through the Eye of Terror. That's what we know.
And apparently he's scary enough that Lorgar is scared of him.
Ice Veins is like, damn, I joined late. Yeah, you did, buddy. Sorry.
Yeah, a little bit.
We're on the last of the Loyalist Legions. So Raven Guard. How would the Raven Guard come back together as a legion?
Is it bad that they're the ones that I don't want to be a legion? Like, even during the heresy, I didn't want them to be a legion. I like them being a strike force.
Super Orlock gives a super chat here. I love the Raven Guard, but Lorgar coming back with Korax's head, turning all of the depression into complete rage would be so sick.
Oh my God, that's actually sick. That's amazing.
Metal. That's metal.
Oh, that's so good though.
Micah says he's a Birdman now, talking about Korax. Well, it is strongly implied that Korax has become some sort of bird creature running around in the Eye of Terror, either mutated or whatever. He had that weird power where he could just sort of disappear. Something that a few other Space Marines in the Raven Guard have. They can just basically turn invisible. It's very strange and very unusual. Yeah. And we got Skylar Martin, another super chat. Sir, we're receiving a Vox from the Raven Guard. Crawling in my skin. These wounds, they will not heal. Yeah, very good point. And I'm a terrible singer. Please don't clip that. All right.
Okay, so how would they come back as a legion? I think Super Orlock nailed it. If Korax is dead, they're going on a mass murder spree. They're going to unify and fly directly into the war, killing everything in their path. They might ultimately be destroyed. That would be such a good end to them, though.
Here's my suggestion. I would say that Ethan Sean, through some discussion or maybe when the Primaris come to him, he has a chance to talk to Call and express his concerns about the Raven Guard gene seed, and how it's deteriorating. My view is that you could call everybody home to save the Legion, to save their gene seed. The goal of their group returning and reuniting would be to find some method of fixing what's wrong with them and addressing that issue, because that is something they've ignored for a very long time.
Yeah.
And it cost them big with Korax trying to make replacements after Ison 5.
I still like that those were proto Primaris Marines.
I mean, anyway,
the head theory.
I think you could bring everybody home and do something that I like to call the Oath of the Raven, where you get all of the sons of Korax to swear, kind of like with the Unforgiven. You basically get them all the chapter masters in a room with Eighth and Sean, and you say, we have an informal agreement, but I'm going to make it more formal. We're going to swear if deliverance calls, you will answer, and that's the Oath of the Raven.
Instead of chairs, they just have a bunch of like brooding statues that they sit on.
They just perch. They perch on little plinths. So you could then make deliverance. You could call deliverance like the Shadow Bastion. This is where we will gather our strength. It's a mustering point. It's also where we will bring back whatever we need to fix our gene seed. We will bring that back to the Shadow Bastion on deliverance. And it becomes this central operations node where the Raven Guard and their successors, they share their intel, they train different cadres, they dispatch kill teams into the galaxy looking for it. To me, this is like the Space Wolves organizing a great hunt to search for Layman Russ, which they did multiple times. So instead, this is the Raven Guard doing it, but they're searching for a cure. They're searching for a way to fix themselves.
Man, if only there was an elder god of healing that could help them.
You could also, so they have kill teams, right? They typically organize into little things called kill teams. In my head, you do this kind of becomes like a kill web where you have the kill teams that cross attach to different chapters and answer to a central Raven Guard command while still doing synchronized strikes across scattered planets systems even.
I like it.
So you don't have a big Legion army. What you get is hundreds of small Raven Guard forces moving in concert. A Legion in effect, but invisible on a single map. You would just see like tons of little kill teams out going and doing stuff, but they're all reporting back. Like I said, the kill web or the shadow command or whatever you want to call it for the Oath of the Raven. They are all being linked through, MI6, which is on deliverance.
Okay, I like it. I have one that would unify the Legion, and that is if Lorgar comes back into real space. They would definitely want to hunt him down. Because they know that their Primarch is after him.
Do they, though? I mean, I'm not sure that that's known to them, first of all. But second of all... I
actually never thought of that.
But
is that actually known by them?
Yeah, Lorgar coming back with Corax's head. That's where you had me. I was like, well, if Corax is dead, that news would travel fast. But if it's just Lorgar coming out, I'm not sure I think a lot of successors. I think the Raptors would just be like, yeah, okay, whatever, and go on, keep doing their own thing.
I like the idea of 100 different strike networks operating like a Legion. I think that's really cool because they can assign to like every battle zone, and their strict orders are to kill the enemy commander and leave,
or something like that. Yeah, some Raven Guard type shit.
Take the head of Shadow Sun because they took the head of our chapter master. Boom. That's what they're there to do.
Yeah, find us the plans to the world engine so we can strike a small point with a photon torpedo.
Fight that giant starfish machine that the Iron Warriors unleashed upon that world that is never mentioned again.
Right. We got a great super chat here from Iceveins88. Welcome. Thank you, Iceveins. How do you think my boys, the Carcharodons, would handle this, and what chapter would they come back to? As I believe they are a Chimera chapter. They are, but they are also a Raven Guard successor. So if the Oath of the Raven is a thing, Tyberos the Red Wake would probably answer, and that would be a really fun moment to have Tyberos show up with his Carcharodons on deliverance, and everybody like, who the fuck are these guys? They are so weird. Look at these dudes. Space fish? What?
The death metal fans are here.
I think that would actually be one of my favorite parts of this whole story, would be the Carcharodons returning. And Sean having to deal with Tyberos and be like, okay, how do I... Because the Carcharodons do not fight like Raven Guard.
No.
Very much do not.
No, they don't.
But
Although every time we mention his name, he gets bigger.
but the Carcharodons would make a hell of a distraction.
Yeah, they're basically world eaters.
I mean, so yeah, Ice Wings. I've been thinking about that. I think that it would be one of the most interesting parts of the story.
I
Would be to
raise you a
have
question, though. I
okay.
raise you a question. What if the Carcharodons were made into a legion?
How?
Like, they decided to go on crusade and took after the Black Templar. They decided to raise their numbers.
Well, I mean, Tyberos is a maverick. He does what he wants. So, I mean, he could do that.
And he's in a sector of space that's not really monitored too well.
I don't know. That's an interesting question. We have a question. Sorry, there's a couple of comments from Ricardo Andre. Agree they don't. I'm not sure what that's in reference to. Disagree, and he says they don't. I'm not sure. I'm assuming he's talking about the Carcharodons returning.
Yeah.
To join with the Ravens. Again, I said yes because it was the most interesting outcome. It was, to me, that was a very interesting outcome, is to have them actually show up. What is it more likely that they wouldn't answer and just remain independent and do their own thing? Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with that. That is in the what if that we were building, I was like, this is the fun part, would be to have them show up. But yeah, maybe.
I would really like to see the Carcharodons become like legion size, like not great legion size, like maybe 10,000 Marines, just not that many compared to the legions. But it would be crazy how powerful they could be.
Sticks and Stone 77 says, if Corax is a bird demon, you think he'd possibly respawn if his legion got his head back in that hypothetical scenario?
Okay, so hear me out. No, but also maybe. It's 40K. You can clap your cheeks and bring someone back to life. They did it to Gilliman twice.
My thinking is, like, to seriously answer that question, I think if you cut the head off Corax, I would want him to die, because otherwise it makes Primarchs unkillable, and they're pretty tough to kill as it is. So
I mean, Gosgol got his head cut off, carried away by Makari, and reattached later and came back.
yeah, orcs are different. And Makari is the luckiest guy ever. So
orcs are built different, incorrectly.
Ricardo Andre says that the Raven Guard do not know where Corvus went. They just know he went into the forbidden sectors of the Raven Spire one day. They, in fact, believe he is still in the forbidden section, and they wait until he comes. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think they know.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I thought so. I keep forgetting which Primarchs know which legions know where their Primarchs went and why. Like, I'm pretty sure the Salamanders know that Vulcan is dead, in quotes, because of the whole Beast Arises scenario.
Ricardo Andre says, Lorebeards, space sharks, the Carcharodons, are Terran ravens mixed in with renegade anti-chaos night lords that were abandoned on Tenebor and Nostromo's moon. That is heavily implied that they're Carcharodon plus Raven Guard DNA gene seed. So yes, I do think it's, in a standard world, it is likely Tyberos the Red Wake would just say, no thanks, we're not Raven Guard, we're our own thing.
Yeah.
But in the context of a what if, I think it would be a hell of a lot more interesting if he did go, you know what, let's just go see what's up. And they arrive and everybody's like, who the hell are you? Holy shit. Because I've always wanted to see him show up to the Raven Guard and be like, hey, dude, do you see the resemblance? What's up?
Do you like your dad? No. Oh, he's one of us.
Also, I mean, it would also play into the whole idea of the gene seed needs to be fixed, because their chimera nature shows that, you can modify Raven Guard gene seed. It can be blended and remixed. So to me, that's the example that would give them the reason of like, oh, well, we need to just find more, or some other way to restore our chapter.
A remix of emo music. I think that's just called Nightcore.
I do like Nightcore. Okay, I listened to a couple of Nightcore episodes music. I was like, this is actually, it's interesting. It's like a weird spin on Alvin and the Chipmunks, but I like it.
You're not wrong, but you said the forbidden words.
I know. Oh God, I'm terrible. Spitfire 703. Thank you for your support. Raven Guard. Dad went into his study. He'll come out any day now. Any day
It's
now.
really true. So, chat, now I pose the question to you. What chapters do you think would make good legions?
Ricardo Andre points out there is an orc wog going straight to deliverance from the south. Perfect opportunity to gather up the chapter. Yeah, true. Defense of the homeworld is a good way to do it. Look at Devastation of Baal. I was just trying to find a different. I didn't want to use the same one more than once, if I could, for a reason. And I was trying to find something more unique to the Legion to give them that motivation. But you're not wrong. And the homeworlds are a big draw, and we did talk about it with the Space Wolves. We talked about it with the Blood Angels. We talked about it even with the White Scars and Chigoris. So,
Ross, what legions would you like to see?
Face Octopus 4571 says, I don't think Carcharodons are a good example of Gene C tinkering. Don't they have a 50% rejection rate? I mean, they're an example. I wasn't trying to say they were a good example necessarily, but just at least you could point it out and say it's possible by pointing to that. Anyway, what chapter do I think would make a great Legion?
Yep.
Well, part of me wants to say Storm Wardens, which is my own chapter.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that.
I would argue either Red Scorpions or Blood Ravens would be a really interesting choice.
I was actually thinking Exorcists.
Oh shit. Oh damn. Okay, I think you hit the nail on the head with that one. That would make people sit up and pay attention.
Cause hey, these demons are everywhere. We could deal with that. We're not as secretive. Yeah.
Fight fire with fire.
And I could see radical inquisitors, radical Malleus inquisitors being like, we need you to be a legion. Because there are demons everywhere. We need you to fight demons. And I would say that they're easier to replace, as weird as this is to say, than Grey Knights.
Micah says, why not Grey Knights as a chapter turned into a Legion force?
I think the Grey Knights are Legion strength. I have a strong suspicion that Grey Knights are actually in the tens of thousands.
Why?
Because they're everywhere where they need to be. They are a force that maintains a secured section in Sol, but are also seen all over the galaxy. And they do move via fleet-based. So I have a feeling that they are similar to the Black Templar, where they have a few thousand more members than they should. They also don't follow the Codex at all. And they're not even recognized by most Astartes orders. Like the Death Watch don't recruit from them. But that is just headcanon for me.
Well, the Death Watch
don't point that out.
The Death Watch do not recruit Grey Knights. You're right. And the Grey Knights are a very specific, special. They are the most special chapter, if you want to think of it that way.
Also, they were established by Malkador the Sigillite. They weren't established as an Astartes chapter.
No, they were built from the Knights Errant.
Yep.
Which were the loyalist traders, basically, of the Flight of the Eisenstein and other small groups that went to Terra to try and warn people about what was happening. I don't know. That's an interesting thought. Doom Eagles or Rainbow Warriors? Ricky Chapman suggests.
Oh hell yeah, Rainbow Warriors.
Doom Eagles too are pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Iron Snakes would be a fun chapter. Fun Legion.
They had such a cool color scheme for such a unknown chapter.
And they're deep cut. Like if you talk about Iron Snakes, you get a lot of 40K fans going, wait, who? What?
Or this, they are really cool. Oh my god, what is it called? My brain work, please. I know the name. Star Phantoms.
The
Star Phantoms as a Legion would be really cool.
Yeah, Lamenters. No,
they can't make it to Legion.
They would never make it. They'd never make it. Oh my god. Minotaurs. We need to do a whole episode on Minotaurs, frankly.
Yeah, we do.
People have asked for it. We need to do it.
How big do you think the Minotaurs actually are? Like, do you think they are just chapter strength, right?
As far as I know,
Yeah, because
let me. I will soon find out. I will look this up, but please continue with discussion of
what
other
about the
chapters.
Black Dragons? The Black Dragons could be really cool as that. Lamenters trying to become a legion is actually kind of comical because I could see them trying their hardest and they actually lose more members of their base chapter.
Oh yeah, just it backfires completely.
We tampered with the gene seed to make it better. It kills almost all of them. Dang it! The
Uh,
Raptors are a good one. I think
Raptors. I was thinking about Raptors as a legion, and I was like, oh, that would be kind of wild because they're the most practical Marines. They use camouflage, and they act like SEAL Team 6 or anything else.
The one that I would like to see, Blood Ravens. Imagine how many psychers they would have.
It would be
Their
like the Thousand
libraries would
Suns
be
all over
crazy.
again.
They would be so goddamn strong. Like, they would be able to train every psyker in the universe. They'd be like, I got this. Astral Claws could be really cool. I don't think there's too much about them. I think there's like one book about them.
So the Astroclaws were what the Red Corsairs became after
Yeah.
the Astroclaws. The Astroclaws formed the basis for the Red
Oh,
Corsairs.
I was thinking the chapter that became the Legion of the Damned. What are they?
Fire Falcons.
Yeah, because I get those two confused. I
Well,
don't know why, but I do.
we think it was the Fire Falcons. We're not exactly sure.
Yeah.
Astroclaws being reestablished even just reestablished as a chapter, not even a legion, would be pretty interesting. And it would be a big middle finger to Huron Blackheart, which would be pretty cool.
We do know that Gilliman actually made a bunch of chapters that were destroyed back with just Primaris. So it could be that Gilliman was just like, Astroclaws are destroyed. Yeah, let's bring them back. And one of the advisors is like, very well, my lord.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, the Minotaurs are just chapter sized.
Yeah, I thought so.
Which is plenty for what they need to do, frankly. They are noted for deploying in full chapter strength more often than other chapters.
Yeah.
They don't.
Even on Terra, they deployed in full chapter strength, and the Lords of Terra were like, haha, take this, custodians, listen to us.
Blood Ravens, quick, hide the relics and the artifacts. If the Blood Ravens became legion sized, their vault would swell to immense size.
Bless. Bless.
Excuse me. Yeah, Trazen would be jealous with all the stuff that they'd get.
Trazen would have his vaults looted.
That's about what. Do you want to talk about any of the we have 10 minutes left. Do you want to talk about the Traitor Legions reforming?
Oh, okay. So the main four, I think, could just easily reform as legions, which is the World Eaters, the Death Guard, the Emperor's Children, and the
Wordbearers, Night Lords,
No.
Black Legion.
Why is my brain not working? What is the fourth Chaos God?
Death Guard.
Oh, Thousand Suns.
Thousand Suns.
My brain is dumb. I'm sorry, everyone. I just completely blanked on that. Yeah, those guys pretty much operate as legions as it is. Although the World Eaters are a little bit weirder because if Engron is back, they act as a legion, depending if they respect Engron still. But he does command a lot of respect. So if it depends if the Primarchs are leading, they're going to be legion strength. Night Lords do have a protocol for operating as a legion, and they operate as independent forces coming together under the name of Night Lords, but they have to have a goal that unifies all of them. So that's the Black Legion is the Sons of Horus. That was pretty easy.
Solomon Akura of the Alpha Legion is currently banding a lot of warbands together under his rule, and he has the spear of Alfarius, or at least he says it's the spear of Alfarius. He believes it to be the spear of Alfarius. Let's put it that way. So the Alpha Legion may or may not be restored, building itself back up to Legion strength, or it may have been Legion strength all along. you never know with the Alpha Legion. Literally, there is nothing I can say that would be actually concrete truth about the Alpha
Yeah.
Legion, except the fact, the only thing I can tell you with concrete truth is you never know.
And that also isn't concrete. We don't know that too.
So we got our big Night Lords fan, Ricardo Andre. Easiest to reform the Night Lords. Decimus is right there. Look at him. Put the crown on. Get possessed by Conrad. Come on, do the thing.
So I've always wondered if Conrad would come back. Like even as like spirit imbued person. I love the story of Conrad Curse because I love the idea that at the end of his life he was just satisfied with his death.
I mean, him and Dante both really wanted everything to end. They wanted just to end.
Yeah.
Dante got promoted, Kurz got assassinated.
Damn it.
Would Kurz want to come back? Ricardo Andre might hate this answer. I don't think Kurz would want to. I think he was tortured by his visions more than he benefited from them or enjoyed them. And I think he wanted that torture to end. I think he would be grateful. I think at the end he was grateful to just get killed.
Now hear me out. The Night Haunter might return.
Batman.
His like split personality. I could see that coming back.
Ricardo Andre says there's this theory that he is trapped by the diamond in his crown thanks to unusual Eldar interest in said item. We talked about this crown when we did our let's build a Rogue Trader retinue. And I believe he said at the time that he thought it's possible that Conrad's soul was in the gem of the crown.
So the soul stones do absorb any and all souls. There is a human that gets their soul sucked into one. There's a rogue trader that gets possessed by an Eldar. That has to be super awkward for them. Yeah, so soul stones be crazy and they kind of act as the author intends. We don't know how they work. Like, so as my co-host loves to say,
it depends. Thousand Suns are basically Legion, like you said, Death Guard.
Yeah, I think they lost a few members to the Black Legion, but that's it.
So yeah, I don't know. Word bearers, obviously, the word bearers they want Lorgar to return. Like to me, that would be the word bearers resurgent would be Lorgar coming back.
Yeah, same with Perturabo. If Perturabo comes back, the entire Legion unifies.
Here's a fun thought. What if Be'lakor rallied the word bearers? What if Be'lakor pretended to be Lorgar? Went out there.
That is a very Be'lakor thing to do.
Right? He pretends to be Lorgar. He starts gathering up word bearer war bands and he incorporates them into the Shadow Legion. And he's like, no, this is what Lorgar wants. He wants everyone in the Shadow Legion. That could be interesting. That could be really interesting.
And then uses it to fight against the Iron Warriors as well as Vashtor.
Yeah.
I like how me and you just make Vashtor into this much cooler enemy than GW did.
Vashtor, I mean, he's got a lot of potential. I'd love to see him live up to it.
Much potential. He's such a cool character. He is I want to see the demons in 40K do something. Like, I know that there are demons in 40K that can't do anything because they share a universe with AOS and Old World, so they can't really do anything with them, which is unfortunate. But they have unique demons in 40K that they can now do things with. So do things.
Ricardo Andre says Conrad would hate it, returning to life, but perhaps it would be a big enough shock to wake him from his jail of illusions, as he was disproven. As his, I was assuming Ricardo's saying that Conrad's visions did not come to pass, and thus Conrad would believe he's forgiven. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what you're saying.
Sounds like it.
And we've got a really great comment. Sorry, I lost it. There was a really great comment about here. Yeah, here we go. Spitfire 703 says Mortarion leaves, the Death Guard unifies.
This is so true, and I hate it because, like, even in Plague Wars, he had to talk to Typhus with a counselor there so that he could convince Typhus to join him so the Legion would join him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame. It's such a Mortarion. I mean, all the Primarchs are tragic in their own way. Mortarion's one that I constantly feel a little bit of pity for. The poor guy. But
Like, as I learned more about Mortarion, I absolutely loved him. Like, I hated him in the Heresy, where he was basically, I'm indestructible, you can't do anything to kill me. And then towards the end of the Heresy, like, they started fleshing out his character a bit more. It was actually like, there's like a 4-book difference between how they originally wrote Mortarion the Demon and how, like, the end of the Heresy, Siege of Terror series, how Mortarion was written as a tragic character. And I absolutely love the tragic Mortarion way better than the I'm gonna bring ruin to the Imperium. I like him as I need to do this to prove myself. And then he does it, and then Nurgle is just like, oh, I didn't think you would actually be successful. Holy shit, I didn't plan for this.
Ricardo is confirming that he was in fact talking about the idea of Conrad's visions being immutable, being disproven. So yeah, it's for Conrad, it's kind of the Terminator, can we avoid our fate situation? And if he was returned to life, he would instantly know that he had in fact defeated fate, which is, I think, his point.
That would be cool, actually.
So
But then
he'd hate being brought back to life, but also be like, oh, hey, that means my visions aren't true. So
wouldn't he then just go on a murder spree of his own Legion?
I mean, it depends. There's a lot of things about Conrad. It depends. But that's all our time for today. So we've got, oh, by the way, we've got a great Discord if you want to go check us out. And on the, we're going to be doing a lot more voting for our topics. So if you want the chance to vote on what topic we're going to cover in the future, please go join our Discord, become one of the lore seekers, and you guys can, weigh in on what you want us to do, because we will be doing more polls for March, and you will see more options of what you want us to discuss.
Heck yeah.
Also, we have a very active Discord community. You can ask any question you want about Warhammer 40K, Warhammer Fantasy, Age of Sigmar, possibly even some other topics. And we've got some cool stuff happening for Lorebeards in the future, and I would like you guys to be aware of it. So go check out our Discord. We have one last second super chat I'm going to read. Ricky Chapman, thank you so much. Here's a Your Hammer or Lore Hammer for you. For you two. Did the Red Gobbo drown a Wordbearer's Dark Apostle in hot liquid holy wax, or did Grotznick make a Gene Stealer Orc Patriarch kill the Prophet?
It's the holy wax.
The holy wax. Yeah. The Red Gobbo.
I'll go with the holy wax, Ricky Chapman.
Same. I don't know for sure, but that's what I think. Anyway, that's all our time.
Patriarch killer. Oh, now I'm not sure. But anyway, in the grim darkness of the far future,
there is only lore. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you next week.
Take care, everyone. Love you guys. Bye.